what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as this increases the live audience, of course, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Nummy Num, Sleeping Warrior, and Arwin. How are you all doing, gentlemen? Good to have you.
Hello. I'm
Hello.
doing great. Nummy Num is AFK for the moment, by the way. I don't know what Sleeping Warrior is doing. Okay, I seem to be here by my own.
That's all good, Arwin. It doesn't matter. We can chat with each other while we're waiting for those two, and I'll give them a proper intro when they actually get here.
Right. So, yeah. Was a late night this night. Got a tip for everyone. When you're downloading movies and you're actually planning to go to bed and it's really late, like 3 o'clock at night, don't take a peek at a movie to see if it's any good. Because if it turns out to be really, really, really good, you'll be up until morning. And that's basically what happened to me this night. So.
Eyes back.
Hello, good to have you.
Oh, we're on now, are we?
Yes.
Yes.
Any curvature evidence yet?
Not in the 2 minutes that we've been live. No curvature evidence.
I didn't miss anything.
No, you didn't miss any evidence of a vacuum next to a pressure system either.
No, I mean, we've been asking for it for like months now, and I just thought it might have been possible that in the 2 minutes that I wasn't there, that somebody might have come on and presented somewhat credible to help us with the shape of the Earth, but alas, it appears not.
No. Didn't get any evidence of a molten iron core that self-perpetuates either in the 2 minutes you were gone.
Oh, that's okay, because Paul Voigt is the one that made that claim. And I noticed that he loiters around in chat, calling people names in capital letters. And I've invited him to come on, but obviously before he does come on, if he does decide to come on, I've asked him for evidence that he claims exists. And we both know that he doesn't have said evidence, but makes the claim anyway and calls us morons about it. But he hasn't got any proof for this point. So if you're out there, Paul, bring your evidence. I can hear lawnmowers.
Stuff arrived today. I'm going to stick my camera on and show you what I got. There we go. So I got...
And it sounds like flat earth merchandise.
Yeah, slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena bear. And I got a t-shirt that I'm wearing now. You can probably see, well, you can't see it, but the audience can. And I also got a Flat Earth Debate mug. So there you go. Check out the link in the info box below this video. That's all my stuff here. I'll show that a bit closer. There's my Flat Earth Debate mug. Love it. All my stuff arrived about 2 hours ago. Chuffed.
You good?
I'm watching in the YouTube. You can actually, it's mirror image.
I'm just getting
my camera back to front. I'll have to sort that out.
Keep it on, Nathan. Let's have a look. Go on, flick it back on so I can see your t-shirt. Or cup, was it? Or whatever it was.
Have you got the Hangout page up?
Yeah, I'm watching it.
There you go. There's my t-shirt. There's my mug.
All right, there's like oh yeah, I see it.
And my slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena bear.
That's cool.
You You love it.
Yeah, that's good.
Good stuff, huh?
Have you had a response about the request to put faces back on, or is that a definite no-no?
No, I got in touch with them. They got back in touch with me and I put them all back on. So it wasn't actually an issue after all. I explained,
Yay.
showed all my legal stuff, and it was all good.
Yay. Right, so I have the thingy open, the back chat open. However, she's back now with a part for the sink. So I need to be back in 2 minutes. Well, give me 5 minutes whilst I make some fantasticness. So chat amongst yourselves. I may be some time. Will not be long.
No worries. You did well, Nummy. You did well, Nummy. You did well yesterday, Nummy.
I don't think he's there yet.
Oh, is he not here? Oh, okay. Maybe he will return.
He said he'd be back.
Yeah, it's good fun watching him take Ruhif to pieces over the Coriolis effect.
Oh yeah, talking about Ruhif and Australia, I was really surprised, gladly surprised, I guess, to see a really weird video that's actually somewhat Flat Earth related by somebody that I never expected to see it from. It's a comedy channel. It's called the Ossman Reviews. It's a guy, I don't even know if he's actually Australian, but he does an Australian accent and then reviews kind of silly movies about animals and all. So it's really funny. It's just, I like the guy. It's really funny, brainless fun videos. And he made this really, really silly, weird video about this so-called flat earth conspiracy that Australia doesn't exist. And it was hilarious. It was really weird. It's obviously satire, but it was just really funny. And
We
I
have
didn't
had things like
expect
that
anything
happen.
like that from
About
him.
2.5 years ago, Arwin, we had, I can't remember the name of the videographer. I think it was something Gypsy, and I'm sure she claimed Greenland didn't exist. She was a flat earther. So we have had things like that happen.
Okay. Well, maybe he was inspired on that then. Hey, welcome back, Nami.
Oh, hi. Yeah. Australia doesn't exist, guys. Just kidding.
Well, he didn't agree, and he actually brought video proof of Australians being real, and it was like the most questionable videos of people that just looked really weird, and it was so funny because he was actually kind of feeding into the idea that it might actually be real. It was hilarious. It was really smart made. It was very funny. I loved it. So a shout out to the Aussie Man Reviews. He at least has taken note of Flat Earth, I think.
My kid loves a bear. Thanks for asking.
So something interesting transpired in the comments of yesterday's video, which is that Flat Earth Math came on and was criticizing Quantum Eraser's analysis of the Coriolis effect. But then when I asked him whether or not he agreed with Ruhif's explanation about the Earth rotating due to drag at the surface, he disagreed. So there's some different points of view among the globers as to what's causing the alleged atmospheric rotation of the Earth, which is interesting.
Yeah, it seems there's a lot of confusion, and in essence, if you're going to have the Coriolis effect exist, you need two separate reference frames. You need the Earth to be turning independently of the atmosphere. That's what causes the effect. Now, the effect is such that the thing travelling in the atmosphere does travel in its medium in a straight line, but because the Earth is turning beneath the atmosphere, it appears to move in a curved path. That is the Coriolis effect, and it necessitates two separate reference frames. The problem we seem to have is there's a cognitive break in the ballers where they say that the atmosphere travels with the Earth. Obviously, of course it does. That's why plane journeys don't take different times in different directions. Unfortunately, that is the converse of the actual Coriolis effect when applied to Earth.
Yeah. It's funny that they can't even seem to agree among themselves, though, what's going on with all of that.
Maybe that's intentional in terms of the way it's put out, because as a flat earther, it's been a long time since I've argued Coriolis, but you normally end up confused. You end up confused about what it is and what it isn't, and Quantum Eraser's really laid it out there several times so that it's absolutely crystal clear that the atmosphere does not move with the Earth if you apply the Coriolis effect, which they say it does on Earth. If you live on a spinning ball, that is, which is nonsense.
Right, and then my argument is more about what would be the causal mechanism behind what would be causing the atmosphere to rotate with the Earth, and there's no consensus among the ballers among that either. Very curious.
Trying to figure out how to get my camera to flip around. But it'd be dead easy. Maybe give up till next show.
It was interesting though. Flat Earth Math agreed with me that if the rotation of the atmosphere was being caused by skin friction drag, that would imply that the atmosphere wasn't rotating, which is what I said in the debate yesterday with Ruhif, which he laughed at and mocked. But I don't know. Maybe he and Flat Earth Math have to have it out.
I invited him on. I said it'd be great to have you on the show.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping Ruhif's going to come back today and see if he's adjusted his opinions somewhat.
Maybe. As it stands, he's a Coriolis effect denier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he also thinks that the boundary layer of skin friction drag in air extends through the entire atmosphere. He thinks that it's a time function, that if the Earth is spinning long enough, that the boundary layer will just grow and grow to encompass the entire atmosphere. That's what he said yesterday. Pretty ridiculous stuff.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, this was the point that really drew me, that really started to bore a hole in the whole globe narrative to me initially. So it's interesting. Like, I think it's there really is no answer to this. I'm quite certain about the east-west flights thing, Coriolis effect, and this bizarre notion that the atmosphere is rotating in lockstep with the Earth, which is the most, obviously nonsensical notion put forth by the ballers, and which has absolutely no conventional physics even to back it up.
Well, they obviously can't even make up their minds as to what it actually is, really.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that we should encourage them to make up their minds about that. We should try to keep bringing it up until they're able to form some kind of a consensus among themselves, so that we can really have that out with that issue, because I think it's the path to the truth for a lot of these ballers. I think it's the rabbit hole that they might be able to fall into.
I don't know. Maybe, hopefully. But there's another problem with the whole baller, how do you say, the whole baller scripture, and that is that it's so vast. There's so much stuff that if they basically find a mistake or they can't really figure it out, they tend to just move on.
Yeah.
It's very easily convoluted.
Yeah. It's
obfuscation is the base tactic for everything. So if it doesn't work out, if you can't figure it out, then they fall back to the original trick that was used on us, and that is you just don't get it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Then
exactly.
they assume that they just don't get it, or they just misunderstand, and they just move on.
Well, that's why I was so glad that Flat Earth Math finally answered my question about whether he agreed with Ruhif yesterday. And I think he was avoiding it. I think he knew he didn't want to. He didn't want to create the appearance of dissension within their ranks. But eventually, I kept asking the same question, and he did. He did eventually answer it. But it's funny because his answer was even more nonsensical. He says that the atmosphere of the Earth is rotating with the Earth due to a lack of friction with the vacuum of space.
But then he's again a Coriolis denier. He has to
Yeah.
have two separate reference frames. The Earth has to not rotate with the Earth in order for the Coriolis effect to apply.
Yeah. Right. But he says the cause of the rotation of the atmosphere is the lack of friction with the vacuum of space. Very interesting. Very bizarre.
So he's also an entropy denier then.
I suppose, yeah. Well, I mean, the vacuum of space is a separate issue. I'm just saying that his idea of the, if we gave them the globe, if we gave them the rotation, his idea of this causal mechanism, hypothetically speaking, his idea of the causal mechanism of the rotation of the atmosphere is a lack of friction with the vacuum of space. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. It's like this, that somehow the atmosphere is just rotating by default, and that unless something stops it, then it just rotates. But that's also the cause, I guess, or something. I don't know. It's very, very weird. Seemed pretty desperate to me.
I think that seems to be what I found when I was far less clued up about what it really was. That if you can have enough confusion thrown into the mix, it's left with no side winning because it's just tied up in confusion. So I think the antidote to that is to explain again and again and again that while they assert that the atmosphere travels with the Earth, it needs to for plane journeys to make sense. That's not what they actually think is happening.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not what the globe model has. The globe model has the atmosphere traveling separately from the Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It has both, right? But depending on what question you ask, they will go to a different answer.
Right.
I'd like to see Flat Earth Math and Ruhif debate this. I think we should get them. We should get Globers to debate each other on this show sometime. That would be cool.
Yeah, what, on the Coriolis effect? Yeah.
Or on
But it's defined.
the cause
just
of the
have to-
rotation of the atmosphere.
I mean, as simplistic as it seems, you just have to do what Quantum Eraser did and roll out the description. There you go. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I wonder if Globers would be willing to debate each other, as we have, as we sometimes have been willing to do, right? We don't always agree with each other, and we're willing to disagree in public.
Yeah, I've said this many times. The amount of Flat Earth shows that I get kicked out of the chat from because I disagree with the people on the panel. And I'm sure Arwen will agree with me. I mean, he got a taste of it yesterday. But, if I hear what I consider to be nonsense, I'm not afraid to say it. And in Flat Earth circles, and I'm not saying all Flat Earth circles, but some, they'll say, well, unless you agree with our nonsense, you're not welcome here. I thought you should agree because you're a Flat Earther. Therefore, any nonsense I assert, you should agree with. It's like, no, you must be joking.
Yeah.
Yep. But I still can't get over the whole fact or the whole system about how gravity is supposed to keep all the air to the Earth because of gravity. Like, even if you assume the gravitational pull concept, then the further away you go from Earth, the less strong this effect should be. And gases, that because of buoyancy, the lighter gases will stay on top in whatever model, then they should just all fly off in space constantly.
Yeah.
Should be a continual process.
Yeah, until
Like, even if there was some gas kept to the ball Earth, like, yeah, it would divide automatically. Like, all hydrogen gas that naturally also comes into existence through all kinds of processes, it would just all drift off to the upper layer and then fly off into space constantly.
Yeah. Well, exactly, because the gravity, even if we accepted the gravity theory that the conventional physics is presenting, I'd like to see, one thing that I've looked for and been unable to find is how one would calculate the minimum mass required for the Earth to retain an atmosphere. That's something I'd like to see flat Earth math explain. Like, what would be the minimum size of a planet required to retain an atmosphere in terms of the gravitational equations? Because I'm not even sure that such a thing could really be calculated. Like the gravity, imagine how weak that force is on an individual, on one molecule or one atom of gas, right? Like that's the other thing. Gases are moving in all directions. This is something I think this is not a well understood subject by either side in many cases, but that the way that gases actually are, the way that they behave on a, like if you take like a given volume of gas, like a cubic meter of gas, it's moving equally in all directions. Like
but
there's as many molecules going up as there are down.
but so do liquids. If you have different liquids with different densities that are within each other, they also basically potentially move in all directions depending on the density that surrounds them.
Yeah, but also though, but
Tis I.
Hey, Tim.
oh, hi Tim,
Yo,
how you
what
doing?
up? Pretty good. I
Did you
wanted to
not
ask.
did you not change your position with regard to the salt lakes? They look pretty flat on your video, right?
Yeah,
No, not at all. Actually, we can go look at those here in a moment. But I did want to ask Nathan really quickly. He seems to think that natural means
Not my mate.
completely natural. Natural, like in the scientific term, he seems to think it like as something like not man-made, nothing man-made. And
Yeah, I'd agree with
you do agree?
yeah.
I would like to
Okay.
say that for the record, I don't agree with that.
I know you don't. Well done. And I
Well,
did
you can
want to share my screen really quickly.
follow
Try
up
and kick this guy. I think kick these two guys that just joined, dude.
Yeah, get these guys out.
So I'm gonna share my screen. And this is where Numpty is, right, or Rumpty or whatever your name is.
Rumpty?
Rumpus.
Numb,
Numby.
no, Nummy. My bad, man. I wasn't being cute or anything.
Was.
But in everyday language, the word natural is often used to describe goods that are wholesome or not made by humans. But in the language of science, natural has a much broader meaning. Within science, the term natural refers to any element of the physical universe, whether made by humans or not. So this is something that is like scientific theory. Some of these backward words that are kind of counterintuitive to the actual word. Um, I would say, I mean, well done, Nummy. You
Yeah,
got one thing
I
right, man.
agree to that as well, by the way.
So in science, it's basically the determination of natural and supernatural. And I heard Nummy say this the other day.
I meant like the natural history was meant to exclude miracles from the understanding of the create, how the planet formed, and like when they started studying geology and things like that, it was like the idea of the biblical creation and the miracles of biblical creation was impeding the study of geology.
Yeah.
Well, I
That's
think
what
that natural in this case rather refers to the physical opposing the supernatural, the metaphysical,
Metaphysical.
and the mathematical.
No,
There-
mathematics is
Yes,
not in
all
that.
things that are not physical. Mathematics can describe things, and, can like show patterns, but doesn't make it physical.
Hey, Jazz.
So
You hear us?
Riley, were you wrong about this? Nathan, were you wrong about this? Can we get a concession so that we know what natural in science means?
Yeah, natural means not man-made.
Yeah, and for science to have its own meanings for words is disingenuous.
Well,
It
you're a man of
Yeah,
the
but
Black's
listen,
law
science
almost. So
changes the meaning of the word
you know the
species.
importance of semantics, and
Yeah.
you can go ahead and concede to this point that in science, natural science means pretty much everything in the universe.
Well,
You
we
agree
can go
with
with
that?
the science definition, or we can go with any dictionary definition, which would say the opposite. And if you're going to argue that science is allowed to use its own definitions to the meaning of words, like it does in the evolution debate with the meaning of the word species, for example, but not limited to, then that will be fundamentally disingenuous. You are creating a pseudo world of meanings that nobody else understands. It's a bit like Arwen with gravity. No offense, Arwen.
I don't
So anyway,
think
natural
thing.
world, all the components of the physical universe, atoms, plants, ecosystems, people, societies, galaxies, etc., as
Yeah.
well as the natural forces at work on those things.
Well, could you give an example of where you would find a vacuum in natural world that's not been man-made?
I think that there's been several examples
Just one.
Name
posed
one.
to you guys.
Name one.
I haven't seen one.
What
Wasn't
kind of question
trees
is that?
weren't trees?
Trees. Yeah, he did
Trees.
say trees, but he never explained it.
Hello, Plain Truth. How you doing?
What you're doing is a red herring.
Weren't
there.
trees.
Hello, good to have you, Plain Truth. Yes, hello.
I don't think that holding on to this.
Can I just ask what you mean by vacuum in trees? Where does the vacuum in trees come from?
That there is no vacuum in trees.
Hey,
No,
Rumpus.
How do they pull up water when
Capillary.
there's a
They
downward
use
force?
capillary force. It's
what
Absorption.
kind of-
working.
They use absorption
Okay.
techniques.
Capillary
that?
force is not vacuum based at all.
So you're going to argue that trees
It's a
vacuum
type of
up
surface tension.
Trees use vacuums.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No,
Evidence,
They
they
do.
please.
don't. No,
How do
they
they
don't.
use
Rumpus,
the
you're an
vacuum?
idiot.
Evidence,
They do. In
please.
transpiration, they use a vacuum system to drag up something.
No, they
Evidence,
don't.
They-
Hang on.
please.
Well, let me speak.
You're in denial of biology, are you?
No,
You just don't know what
you're
you're
an
talking
idiot
about.
and you're
Hang
wrong.
on,
They
hang
use
on.
capillary force. It's based on
You're talking about no, it's not.
the
capillary
micro
force.
scale. It has
That's
nothing
not
to do with
sufficient.
vacuum,
Capillary
you
force
idiot.
is not sufficient to do the job to get you up to
Hey,
100
Alan.
meters high trees.
Hello, boys.
Capillary force
It's
is
not.
manifested. Yes, it is. Capillary
you don't
force.
know the
It works.
biology.
It has nothing to do with
You
a vacuum.
don't know your
Based on
biology.
surface
Right,
tension.
Arwen, just
I
give
know
the guy a
about it.
minute.
Don't know
Explain.
your biology.
I
Arwen.
do.
Can you
No,
explain
you
where vacuums and trees fit into this?
Right, it's a very
I-
tricky mechanism near the stomata and near the joins between, because the xylem, which brings up the water, there are various junctions where it's a vacuum. It's not. I don't think it gets to a perfect vacuum, but it uses the vacuum force. If you go and look at this, detail this on any. I mean, I could go and bring up some document now, if that's what you want me to do. But
Hey,
it's
Woz. How you
it's
doing?
quite a tricky little process that the plants use. For instance, 100-meter
Hello.
trees, you could not
Hello.
do that with the capillary forces alone. And this did confuse people
Yes,
until
you
quite
can.
recently. No, you can't.
Yes.
Well, hang on. How could you prove it's not absorption?
This is a total red herring. Don't
Yeah,
fall
I mean,
into his red herring.
And also, of course,
Rumpus.
vacuums are natural in space. Vacuums, you can almost create a vacuum in your own kitchen. You can do that as well by just
but
turning the
they're
glass
man-made.
upside down.
Basically created in the
Man-made.
kitchen.
Man-made.
So more,
No.
natural just includes everything can happen that has some interaction with things in the universe.
No,
right,
man-made
so
means
it's not
natural.
it's man-made.
Yes.
It's not natural.
Natural
Natural.
science
No, you
would
don't
disprove that.
And that
It
you
means
knew
not
that's
artificial.
and
It's like
Riley
how
was
death
claiming
in
that
boys,
that was in
the opposite is
dictionaries. Dictionaries do include the scientific definition as well.
No, they don't. Should we pull up a dictionary definition of the meaning of the word natural?
Well, I think
Yeah, do that, Anthony.
Tim
I already
Ossman
did.
did that already.
Yes,
Tim
please.
Ossman did that already.
I think natural definition, the first one on Wiki says, existing in or derived from nature, not made or caused by humankind.
Yeah, well, nature includes space, Anthony, and that's got vacuum in it.
Yeah, and science includes changes the meaning of words. So if you're going
Well,
does
it
it
has its
matter?
own
This is
special,
a
I
red
agree with
herring.
you, special words that it uses.
No,
I
it's
agree. Things like theory, for instance. is
right,
an
can I see
example.
some evidence that a tree will vacuum up water, please? 'Cause
Nah,
I'm
let's
quick.
not go on
Absorption like a
these
sponge.
little rabbit holes. Let's talk about something substantial.
Yeah, the
to go
Coriolis.
with.
I'd like to talk about
Tim, you were the one that
Coriolis
said
force.
trees.
I mean, I will, but I just
Hang on, hang on.
it's a deep. I mean, when you pull your joints as well,
Yeah, it's called
Anthony,
nonsense
when you
rumpus,
make
that's why
your
you can't.
joints click, you're
that's-
also creating vacuum.
No,
as
that's
well.
the release of a gas. That's not a vacuum.
No, you'll have synovial fluid in your joint, and by expanding it, you create a vacuum, if in effect, which then causes
Create a pressure. You don't create a vacuum.
It's what the pressure. Oh my god!
You don't
When
know
you
what you're talking
expand-
about,
Pressure
really.
is not a vacuum, Rumpus.
No, the
It's-
buildup of fluid in the synovial, the buildup of gas inside the synovial fluid is released when you crack your knuckles.
By
doesn't
the
create a
vacuum, yes, it's created by the vacuum. Effectively, by the vacuum you're creating, this extra space you're creating in your joints that doesn't have anything to fill
it's the
it.
buildup of gas in the
That's not a
synovial
buildup.
fluid.
That's
It's talking nonsense, Rumpus. Right, let's have a.
I mean, I could go into this, but I prefer to talk about Coriolis. I mean, I'm happy to talk about trees in a minute, but I'd like to talk this Coriolis drivel that Numpty's been projecting a bit about
Okay, I'll give
and
way.
confusion
Carry
about
on,
and the
carry on.
confusion about the reference frames, for instance, and also whatever and what causes the air to rotate. I'll come back to trees, Anthony. I really will. Right. So one, the atmosphere does rotate, but it's what's called as a gradient of rotation. So it doesn't exactly match it exactly, but as you go up, there is a gradient of rotation. So the stuff at the very near the surface of the Earth tends to rotate very close to the rotations. As you go up, it changes to be not because like rotating a ball. There's a video that someone linked to in the comments on yesterday's show, and he shows the rotating liquid and how it up to speed. And as Numpty said about the time function, what Rohith didn't mean to suggest that viscous forces were time delayed, but what it means, it takes time for those forces to cause the atmosphere to rotate. So after a few thousand years of the Earth rotating, it would then get up to a stable situation, except for the fact you've got atmosphere, winds, and things. But anyway, about the two reference frames that you were talking about, there is a reference frame. You do need two reference frames. That Nathan was correct about that. You've got a reference frame for the an observer, say, out in space or separated from the Earth, or you can regard it as the center of the Earth, and then you have the atmosphere and the Earth as the second reference frame. And so you do have two reference frames, and the mere fact you've got cyclones and things, depressions that rotate in a particular way in the northern hemisphere and a different direction in the southern hemisphere is proof of the Coriolis force. Also, the Coriolis force causes the focal pendulum.
Hold on,
and
before
also
you go on to the
jet
full
force
cart
effect.
pendulum, I've just got a quick question then. So when you fire the bullet from the gun in your example, does that fire into the spatial reference frame?
Yes, once.
So
once
you're saying the bullet goes into space, that's why it looks like
No,
it's
it goes into the same
deviating,
reference
because it's
frame,
in the second reference frame. So you're saying that the first reference frame being Earth and the atmosphere travels together. So why would we see any deviation in that single reference frame?
Of the bullet, or do you mean that things like the winds and things in general?
Listen carefully to my question, you deaf retard.
No,
So, if you have the second reference frame... Why are you still talking? Why are you still talking? If you still have the second reference frame outside of the Earth atmosphere system, why do we see any deviation in the single reference system that is the Earth atmosphere system?
I didn't really understand the question. If you mean what...
Well, let me explain it again. Shut your mouth, listen to the question. If space is the second reference frame, why do we see any deviation in the bullet, which according to you we do because of Coriolis, if it is happening in a single reference frame?
Well, it's not. The bullet enters the reference frame of the center of the Earth, or stroke space, whatever you like to call it, and it leaves the rotational reference frame of you and the atmosphere. So that's why you get a difference between the two, and you get a bending of the bullet going up or down or left or right, depending which way you fire it.
But that would imply that the bullet is in space and not in the atmosphere, which
no,
also rotates with the Earth, according to you.
Right. The Coriolis effect is a function of velocity with respect to the Earth. Immediately you move with respect to the Earth, the Coriolis effect affects you. So that's why, for instance, the depressions and things rotate. Similarly with bullets. Immediately you move with respect to the Earth's reference frame, you therefore enter the reference frame of the center of the Earth, or the space, if you want to call it. But you don't have to be physically there. You're just simply entering the reference frame. It doesn't mean to say you've been transported into space. You've entered the reference frame. So
Okay,
anything that moves,
just to clarify, sorry, just because I want to clarify. So anything that leaves Earth's surface is in a separate reference frame.
No, I said velocity. Anything it moves with respect.
Why would it have to be at velocity? Why would it
If you
have to
move-
be at
if you move-
velocity?
If you move with respect to the
No,
Earth's
we got a
surface.
clarification in the definition that said that all objects would be subject
right,
to
but-
this
but
that are
move
in
with
the
respect.
atmosphere. All.
No one ever said
Not
that.
some,
Okay,
not
let
at
me
velocity.
clarify.
You seem to be redefining
I
the
clarify,
Coriolis
please?
effect.
Can I clarify?
You're
Right,
a
any
mess
object.
of cunt.
Oh, for God's
You
sake!
are a mess of cunt.
Who's saying
That's
that?
all I can tell you.
Right, whoever's right. So
You're a drunkard.
yeah, you're drunk.
Go ahead,
aren't you?
Rompy.
Yeah, Jazzy, you're a real disgrace to the Globers, I'm afraid. I wish you wouldn't participate in these things. Oh, great, he's left. Excellent. Yeah, so anything that moves with respect to the surface of the
He's a
Earth at a
peewee.
velocity is has left the reference frame of the Earth and enters the reference frame of the center of the Earth or space or whatever you want to, the universal reference frame, if you like. Immediately you cease to be moving. Immediately you move with respect to the Earth's surface. It doesn't matter what height you are. So you implying, everything off the surface. No, if you followed the surface of the Earth, you would still be in its reference frame. But immediately you move with a velocity with respect to the surface of the Earth, you are then subject to the Coriolis force. You've left the reference frame of the Earth and you're in a different reference frame. And that's when this fictitious force, it's quite difficult to understand. I can give you the equation for it if you like, and he can give you numbers. And Numby was asking earlier about what size the planet you need to have retain an atmosphere. And it's actually somewhere between Mars and Venus. We can do the calcs if you like. So anyway, the point is that anything that moves and has a velocity, in other words, with respect to the Earth, doesn't matter what height it's at, anything that has a velocity, all the equations show that will then subject you to a perpendicular force to your direction of motion. And that's why things go in a circle. And it doesn't matter what direction you're pointing, it'll always be right angle. So that's why weather systems go in circles, because they go north, they've got a little force that makes them go west, and when they go west they get a force to go south, and when they go south they've got a force to go east. So that's
therefore,
what makes them go in a circle, because it's
hold on. So if you were going straight up because you were travelling in a direction, the Earth would continue to rotate below you, correct?
Going up is a tricky one because you're.
Why is it a tricky one? That's a direction. I've just listened very carefully to what you've said.
That's a good
According to
question,
you,
actually.
that's as soon as it reaches any sort of velocity whatsoever, once it goes into any sort of motion, it is then in the second reference frame, and therefore the Earth continues to turn beneath it. Correct?
Right, that was a good question. That was a good observation you've made there. I did say with respect to the Earth's reference frame, and that as you go
Right,
up,
it's not in the Earth's reference frame once
Well, it
it's
is
left
actually.
and
Well,
it's travelling upwards, is it, Rumpus?
Right, it is actually, because if you just go straight up,
No, it's in the second reference frame. It's not attached to Earth anymore. It's no
doesn't
longer
matter
in
if
the
it's
Earth's
attached to
reference
Earth.
frame. It's travelling
It's-
upwards,
the
away
question is
from
whether it
Earth,
moves with
away
you.
from that reference frame, Rumpus.
Right, no, it's not, because the reference frame is the surface of the Earth, and that goes out.
Yes, and
in
it's
a
not
sort
on
of-
that. It's travelling away from it. It's going up. It's a balloon.
Yeah, right. That can still be within the Earth's reference frame.
No,
because-
it has left Earth and is now in the space reference frame.
No, it's not. I'll explain
Yes, it
why.
is.
Because
It has
you've got to
left
move with respect
Earth.
to the surface.
Why are you being disingenuous? Let's be
No, I'm not.
absolutely
If you
clear.
let me
You are
explain,
now
Nathan, I'll
lying
answer you.
and
You
being
made a good
disingenuous.
question.
Picking and
If
choosing.
something has left
Well,
Earth's
I'm
surface,
gonna try and
it
answer
has
you.
left
Let me
Earth's
answer.
reference frame.
Let me answer.
No, I'm
Right,
not
you've asked a
asking
good
a question. I'm telling
You've asked
you,
a good-
once it has left Earth's surface, it has left Earth's
No.
reference frame.
No, you didn't listen to what I said. You have to have a velocity with respect to the surface.
Yes,
So
it's got a
if you're going up,
it has a
not
velocity
with respect to the
upwards.
surface.
It has
Okay.
a reference
I'll
frame of
clarify.
Earth, which it has left, and now it has a velocity upwards. So
Right,
Earth
but
would
that's
continue
not
to move
with
underneath it, correct?
Okay, I'll qualify that a little bit better then.
No.
It's with respect.
No, this is what defies the Coriolis effect. As soon as it leaves Earth, it has entered the second reference frame, travelling upwards. Unfortunately, there are examples of things being fired out of cannons that come straight back down the barrel of the cannon. In other words, despite the fact that you have this fictional, ridiculous idea that Earth turns, nothing seems to support it when you put it into two separate reference frames that are individual, not connected. So therefore, when things travel upwards, the Earth should continue spinning beneath them. But that doesn't happen.
Right, when you have something that's on the Earth, it has a velocity that it's got from the Earth. So when it
Let's just say it again, because Rumpus is retarded. We are talking about a balloon. It is not attached to Earth.
yes, but it still had the velocity. It's like an aeroplane.
Yeah, that's
It's
my
similar.
point. It has a velocity, it's not in the Earth reference frame, it is travelling upwards, and yet the Earth doesn't move a sodding inch beneath it. There is no second reference frame. They're all connected and none of it's moving. Otherwise, the Earth would continue to spin underneath the balloon.
Right, and the balloon is...
Right, end of problem. Coriolis debunked, spinning Earth debunked, end of story.
You've got that completely wrong. You've got that completely wrong. You think by centering...
No, I haven't got anything wrong. We've made it clear that when anything travels with respect to the second reference frame, which is the Earth turning, the Earth will continue to turn beneath it once it reaches any velocity. So that's debunking the Coriolis effect. Because as soon as you introduce a balloon travelling straight up, you would expect the second reference frame, the Earth, to continue to turn beneath it. But it doesn't.
So the atmosphere, and so does the balloon.
Yeah, the second reference frame.
Right, I did explain that the force is dependent on your velocity. So if you went up very, very slowly, for instance...
No, it doesn't make any difference about velocity. It makes it very, very clear in the definition of the Coriolis effect. When set in motion, freely moving objects, including air and water masses, i.e. clouds and water vapour, move in straight paths while the Earth continues to rotate independently. It's as simple as that. The Earth rotates independently as soon as objects are set in free motion. So when set in free motion upwards, the Earth continues to rotate beneath the freely moving balloon. And
so
yet, the Earth doesn't have that effect when we actually observe it, does it, Rumpus?
It behaves exactly as we would expect on our...
No, it doesn't. You would expect it to comply with what I have just detailed in the Coriolis effect. When set in motion, in this case upwards, moving objects, including air and water masses, i.e. clouds, move in straight paths, in this case straight upwards, while the Earth continues to rotate independently.
Like
however, we don't observe that, Rumpus. We don't observe a freely moving balloon with an Earth rotating beneath it independently now, do we?
In a train, you throw something up and
Let's not talk about trains.
And it's exactly the same.
Sorry, we haven't actually proved your lid without a lid now, have we? So a train would be a closed contained system, unlike Earth, according to your bullshit.
Oh my god.
In a train wagon, you're in an enclosed space.
Yeah, train wreck.
That's
what you are,
on the roof
train
of the
wreck.
train, it's not going to be the same.
It's like being in a train. And then
No,
when
it's
comes
not.
up, it
A
comes
train is a
down
closed
exactly
contained
where it came-
system.
Sorry?
All right,
Your Earth is
Nathan,
not.
Can I talk about my observations by any chance? I'd love to hear what Sleeping Warrior and other people have to say about these.
Okay, before you just stop me, Tom, I just want to finish. It's just like being in a train. So
No, it isn't. A train is a closed system, and we have not been given an example by Rumpus of his model demonstrating his open system that manages to remain closed without anything on top of it. So you haven't demonstrated that we are like a train in any way, shape or form, unless you are now conceding that Earth is a closed system, Rumpus.
Well, it is a closed
system. Are you conceding that Earth is a closed system by making an example of a train?
Closed system, actually, Rumpus.
Well, no, I think it's...
That's oh my god, really?
See, Rumpus stutter his way around this one.
Open and closed at the same time. Right,
hold on, I'll just qualify. I think I know what Tim's going to put. I don't think I understand what Tim's trying to say. It does have, it's not an isolated. Remember, there are three sorts of systems. There's open, closed, and isolated.
We don't need to know this. We just need to know if Earth, your model of it, your bullshit idea of it, is like a train and closed, or not like a train, like a convertible car and open. Which one?
I'll just define a closed system for everybody. A closed system.
You don't need to define a closed or an open system, Rumpus. You just need to specify whether your bullshit ball model, the one that isn't reality, whether or not that is open or closed. That's what you need to do.
There is very little matter. There is very little matter that is exchanged with the rest outside the Earth. So the Earth is effectively a closed system.
You're not listening or answering anyone's question. I'm going to give you one last chance and then I'm going to kick you out, Rumpus.
You do that, Ned. You censor me. Yeah, I know you don't like reality, but carry on.
No, you're not listening to anybody. You're just rambling about whatever the hell you like.
Interrupted. I try and answer a question and I get interrupted.
You're interrupting me right now. So if you do it again and you don't just address the questions asked,
Okay.
right,
Okay.
you'll just get kicked out because you're just disrupting everything.
I know you want to censor reality, Nathan, but Karen, ask me a question.
No, not censor reality.
You are. You censor the answers. You don't like the
Shut
answers
up.
because they challenge your reality. You challenge reality. You deny reality.
Can
But
you
anyway,
please
Not
shut up
denying
for a
any
second?
reality. This ad hoc nonsense is absolute nonsense.
ask me a question then. What is the question?
Right, so you said Earth is like a train. So are you saying now that Earth is a closed system?
Yes.
So it is closed system, so we don't have a vacuum next to a non-vacuum that you can travel through with space rockets.
It's a closed system. There's no matter. That's what a closed system is. There's very little
No,
matter
a closed
exchange.
system is a contained system.
No, it can be an
Yes.
gravitation.
Yes.
No, that doesn't work that way.
It does. It works exactly. That's what happens.
So
Works exactly
you are
what-
yet to show us how
But
it
it's not
works
an
on
isolated
your
system.
bullshit model that is not reality. Can you show us now, Rumpus? I'll pop you on screen. We didn't get to it yesterday.
Okay, what do you want me to show you? Sorry.
Your model of Earth. Now, let's
Right.
just get the first bit before you start talking. I would like you to show me your model of Earth and its demonstration of its containing gas pressure without it being a container. You're on screen. Let's see it.
Right. So you're asking me for the particular aspect of Earth that relates to how it retains its atmosphere.
No.
Model.
I want you to shut up and listen. Don't say anything.
Okay.
I want you to show me, that means it is a visual thing, your model, that's the globe and it being a sphere, your model, and that model's demonstration of it containing a pressurized system without a lid.
Right. So you want me to show you where the effective end of the atmosphere is? That's effectively
No,
what I'm
I'll say it again. Because it seems clear that I say something slowly and clearly and Rumpus hears something completely different. So I'll say it again. Don't speak, just listen.
Okay.
I want you to show. That means it is visual. That's why I've got your face on screen.
Okay.
Show your model. That is Earth as a sphere. And that model demonstrating it holding pressure without any container. Okay?
Right, so okay, I'll
Please,
draw you a
hold on,
diagram.
Rumpus. Hold on. Detail back to me what I'm asking you to present. Let's just take
You
you
want me
off
to show
screen
you
so I
some
can get
physical
clarity that
representation
you.
of the
Hold
way
on,
the
Rumpus. Hold
which is what
on.
I'm-
Hold
you asked me
on.
to-
There's not
you just
Rumpus. I haven't finished.
Okay.
Right. What I want you to do first is repeat back to me what I am asking you to do.
It's okay, Nathan. I got it. You want me to show you the model? Yeah.
No, I've asked many times, so repeat it back to me.
Okay. I'd like to proceed though, Nathan. If I were to ask you to do a model of, say, the UK,
I don't want you to ask me anything. I want you to
but
repeat
okay,
back
this is
to me
my
what I'm asking
clarification.
for.
Just to help me, Nathan, to give you an answer. If I were to ask you to give me a
No,
model of the UK,
just repeat. Do I need to clarify what the word repeat means?
I'm going to
Repeat
demonstrate that I understand
what
you're
I am
saying,
asking for, Rumpus.
and I'm going to give it to you, Nathan. But
No.
I'm just going to demonstrate
Repeat it.
how the
Just
question is complicated.
repeat
Rumpus, do you
it.
have ADHD?
No,
Yeah,
I don't.
he's got OCD. Can't repeat back what I'm saying to him.
He's gone. He's left the building.
All right.
Anyway, everyone can breathe with a sigh of relief after that. Anyway, can we go on to this, Nathan, by any chance? Can you
Yes,
share my
kudos,
screen?
by the way.
Thank you very much. I did want to get some explanations, I guess, from the flat Earth perspective on what's happening here. So this is a drone on the causeway of basically to Antelope Island from Salt Lake City. And as you rise, you can start to see, quite obviously, more and more features and mountains. This observation point is really, really good for this conversation because obviously it's a long distance. It's over flat, basically, and calm water. It looks flat, yeah. It does look flat. It's
not. But so when
flat
you
as
say
in
flat,
like not wavy.
when you say flat, you don't mean flat.
Flat as in like not wavy. Like when somebody brings up like Wolfie's videos or something like that, there's all these waves, and you guys are like, "Oh, there's 50-foot wave or
Okay,
whatever."
just checking.
So there's okay. I'm just showing you that you can obviously see that there's reflections and stuff, and there's absolutely basically no ripples over this. And this is like 20 miles or 30 miles at least.
That's
And
game over right there. Game over.
So yeah,
that's game over right there.
Just...
That's why I made a video about it. So why isn't it refracting in a weird way? Because it's refracting off a curved. How far expansively have you got left to right in this image?
It's a good question. But then again, we do have a horizon filled with mountains, and it would be hard to determine an angular change.
Just give it me approximately. Is it 5 miles, 30 miles?
Oh man, it's got to be, I don't know, 50 miles? I have no idea.
So almost a full degree. Hold on. Almost a full degree of curvature then.
1 degree, you would think so, yeah.
Right. So on a curved surface, even if it's a single degree, why do we get a perfect reflection? For example, the clouds here. Why aren't they being reflected in an arc?
So anyway, the major takeaway here is that
you seem to have just completely ignored my question, Tim. Sorry. I'll just repeat it. So, why is it that in a picture that has an expanse that is containing a 1 degree arc, why is it that we get a perfect reflection?
I asked about the land, Nathan.
I don't care what you asked about. I'm asking about the thing you highlighted first, which you said, yes, we get a reflection. So I'm asking why, if there is a degree of curvature there, why do we have this perfect reflection?
I don't know, because the Earth is flat, sure. So what about the land here, that as you raise in altitude, you get to see more of the land? Sleeping Warrior, Nummy, can we answer this, please?
I can answer that in one word. Perspective.
And
perspective, okay.
Yes.
And there is something on the horizon that we now know to be called obstruction that was formerly known as curvature, called mirage. You can clearly see that there is a reflection of the land underneath it, and therefore there is a mirage present in the image. And if it's not a mirage, it's
that's a reflection on the water. Dude.
Sure. So play the video and let's see what happens when you go up.
I'll show you. Look at this. Look at the reflection on this.
Yeah. Why isn't it demonstrating the 1 degree of Earth curvature and showing
That's just a really silly question, dude.
No, it's actually a perfectly good question.
There is a 1 degree arc according to the sphere theory, and that would cause all of those reflections to be distorted, and they are not.
No, it wouldn't, actually.
Yes,
you would
it would.
get a different reflection if there was a curved Earth.
So you don't think using a convex surface to reflect something is going to affect the reflection in some way? So you think if we take a convex mirror, it's not going to distort the reflection of what is seen in the mirror?
So a convex mirror that on the scale of this,
yes, 1 degree would cause a problem.
On any scale. So what scale? How big would the mirror have to be before there'd be any?
Can we stop? I know you guys do this all the time, but can we stop with the obfuscation? I just asked from a flat Earth perspective.
I'm asking you an honest question. No, I'm asking you.
I asked from a flat Earth perspective.
Yeah, we gave you an answer. I said I'll answer it in 1 word: perspective.
Okay, well that's what flat earthers do, just perspective, and that's good enough for you.
That is actually the answer.
I thought it would be a little bit better than
that. It's just one element of it. It's
but you're not
perspective and the refraction causing this.
It's refraction.
You're not doing
perspective makes it smaller. Refraction bends it up, the light upwards, causing that slant effect.
So here's another one.
Horizon. It's both.
Where you can start seeing more of the mountains that are many miles away.
Yeah, but that would be the same in both models.
No, it wouldn't, because on a flat Earth, looking over flat water, you would be able to see it. And I'm not getting laterally closer to it. I'm just going. Hold on. I'm just going vertically up and then down. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah,
if you go forward, doesn't go upwards. If you go upwards and you view it from a higher altitude, then the refraction zone will also move forward. The slant will move forward.
How do you quantify or justify that there's a refraction zone?
We've observed it and see it. There's loads of
Exactly.
photos demonstrating it
It's
on
measurable.
this,
It's
on this
optics.
debate.
It's
It's
How do you
optics.
measure
defined.
it?
It's talked about
It's
at nausea, in fact.
Yeah,
It's optics, guys.
How do you measure it?
Well defined.
this has been studied by in optics. You can read about it. I'm not an
So
expert.
as you go up, look at this. Look at the difference here. Look at the difference in the mountains back there. So you're saying it's not there with your eyes, but it is actually there. Is that what you're
Part
saying
of
to
the
me?
mountain in the far distance
see that?
is that
This one
typically
here,
hidden in the
this one
refraction
here.
zone. And
Oh,
then
the
when you move
refraction
upward,
zone.
the refraction zone moves forward.
Oh.
And the
Tim,
vanishing zone becomes smaller, making more of those faraway mountains visible.
Tim, what you're effectively arguing is that we shouldn't see.
Look at the difference. Look at
No,
this.
you're
Look at the difference.
effectively. Listen, you're effectively arguing that we would like what you're showing is that we're seeing a changing angle of view of what we're looking at, and you're effectively arguing that on a flat plane, if we rised up, the angle of viewing wouldn't change. Well, yeah, obviously it would. I mean, this is really just kind of the height.
No,
stupidity
no. Look,
we're arguing
look.
here.
This is what this is showing, is that there's obvious obstruction over what you guys say is flat water. You have no evidence for curve.
You're showing a
But
hold
all
on.
of these
No,
mountains,
let's go
you
with
can
this,
see
Nami.
how
Hold
big
on,
this
let's go with
mountain
this.
is right
So
now.
between
Watch this.
We have
Look how much
hold
bigger
on,
it is.
hold on,
Parent
hold on,
curve
hold on.
caused by-
So between us and the thing we're targeting, you're saying there's a curve. So how far is it to the mountains front to back? How far are we looking?
Over that way, I'm not sure. That's got to be many, many miles.
Approximately.
Well,
More than
that
60 miles?
information's
Hold
kind of
on.
important for
Hold
this
on,
sort of
Nami. More than
observation.
60 miles?
No, not really.
More than 60?
I would say yeah.
60 miles.
On that last one that I was at with the big mountains.
So we have
yeah,
so we
about
have
60 miles.
a degree in the front to back causing distortion of this reflection, which is perfect, and we have distortion left to right, which is also not in any way affecting these reflections.
So you're conflating the actual point here.
Well, there's a front
If
to
water
back
is
and left to
flat
right curve. It's
and
a
the Earth is
sphere, right,
flat-
Tim? Let's just get this clear. Just so we're on the same page. We don't live on a cylinder, right? It's curving in all directions away from us, from your feet where this is on the ground, correct?
I don't believe we live on a cylinder, correct?
So it's curving away in all directions from this position, correct?
Without changes in topography, which there's obviously a lot in Utah, lots of different mountains all around.
No, we're talking about the flat plane
kinda hard to
of
answer.
the salt flats, aren't we? The topography in the distance is reflecting on the flat topography.
The flat water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
But is it flat water?
Well,
Yeah.
When it
yeah.
when it obstructs
That's why it has a
mountains?
reflection that's nigh on perfect.
Tim, it's not obstructing mountains. What you're doing is conflating a changing viewing angle with obstruction. That's literally what you're doing. It's really that
So
dumb.
hold on.
Can you
So
go back
right
to that
now-
shot a second, Tim? Can you
I'm
go back to that
seeing-
shot on the ground
which
a
one?
second? Because I just need to ask you something.
Which one?
The one a second
One
ago
I
when
was
you were on
at.
the ground looking at the mountains, just a second ago. There we go.
How are you seeing those
Here we go.
mountains
Stop it
from the
there. Stop
ground?
it there. So you're about what, 8 inches off the ground here?
Probably about a footish, yeah.
Right. So between us and that mountain, there should be an obstruction, and yet we can still see the reflection.
Yeah, I actually haven't quite figured out how the reflections work yet.
Yeah,
They're-
that's
they're
because
very
it's
bizarre
flat as a
to study.
pancake. You're talking 60 miles between you and that mountain, and even 8 inches off the ground, you can still see the reflection.
This is actually
There is
perspective, though.
absolutely
Look at-
no
I
way
mean,
you can argue that there's a curve there. That was an absolutely fantastic flat Earth piece of evidence that you've just presented.
Beautiful. Thanks, Tim. We should
I'm going to screen cap that and use that all day long. 8 inches off the ground, and you've got a mountain 60 miles in the distance, reflecting perfectly down on the flat water beneath it. 8 inches. That's
I think what
sensational
we're
proof
saying
there's
is-
no
Look at this,
obstruction.
hold on now.
There's so
Look, I mean, I'm-
there's so lack of obstruction that something 60 miles away can reflect onto the ground beneath you from 8 inches. That's astonishing.
Tim, do
Let
you
me know
know
when you're done.
how much obstruction there should be if that's 60 miles? Do you have any idea?
So anyway, right here,
No, Tim,
as you can see,
you know how much
we're talking.
obstruction
Hold
there
on,
should
hold
be?
on 1 second. 1 second, please. Thank you. we're talking about the reflections on the water. This is due to perspective, because look, as you rise up, look at how it is, and watch how it when you rise back up.
Have you ever
quite
seen a
obvious.
reflection on a curved surface, on a curved mirror
Yeah,
surface?
actually, have you ever seen
Because
a
this
slice?
looks pretty like a
video?
flat surface, like it's a perfect mirror reflection.
Yeah, it's absolutely
Have you ever seen a
perfect.
Flat
slice
surface.
arcane
If it
video?
was a reflection on the ball, you wouldn't
Or
see
no?
that reflection at all from the ground.
Tim, do you know how much obstruction there should be over 60 miles from 8 inches off the ground? You have any idea?
Yeah, I can guess. Is it about 2,400 feet? 2,200 feet?
600.
No,
It's
60 miles. It's not.
2,313 feet, and then with if we use the standard refraction nonsense, it's 1,977 feet. So
How tall are the mountains?
So are you gonna? So what is that? Is that refraction that's making that visible?
These mountains
Tim?
are huge, and let me actually see. I guesstimated, dude. I don't
But
even
we've got the
think
reflection of
it's
them.
probably
We've got the reflection
yeah.
of them on the ground beneath them. So you're going to tell me that there's a
Fine.
bulge between you and those mountains when
Yeah, well,
literally
nah,
in the
they're
2 inches
bang
of
on.
space
These-
between the
these are probably-
horizon and the actual mountains, you've got a perfect reflection.
Yeah, Tim, what you've come up with here is actually beautiful flat Earth evidence. Thank you.
Absolutely sensational.
Wonderful.
Oh, you guys are trolling. It's funny.
Not
though.
trolling,
We're
I'm dead
trolling.
serious.
No,
We're
we're
being confrontational. It really is.
Confrontational.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
you're
this
being
is defying the ball.
Or you're just
Look at that.
posed.
Look at that. That's awesome.
That is pretty sick, dude.
That's
is this on
awesome.
Google Drive so that we can download it somewhere?
Nathan's got the 4K links if you want him.
It's a perfect mirror reflection.
So do you don't mind if we use this, do you, as flat Earth proof?
Already done it.
Not until you actually tell me what's obstructing the mountains.
Perspective.
Perspective is
Yes.
obstructing the mountains.
Correct.
It's a viewing angle, Tim. Do you understand that? That you're going to see something different from a different angle, or that doesn't make sense to you?
No, that's quite obvious in perspective in general. But the thing is we're
Right, well, that's
talking
what's
about
going
the
on.
water being flat. We're talking about the water being flat and the earth being flat. So why does the water, when you're close to the ground, obstruct the mountains?
That is refraction, but it's still very flat
Ah.
because it's reflecting the image in the very far distance, like a flat mirror does.
You know, in that little piece
Perfectly.
of footage just there, you had a little ripple run through the water. Did you see that? So you can see what would happen if the water was actually bent.
Yeah.
Yeah? Did you
is a
see that,
very-
Tim?
very
Maybe you didn't
unique
catch that either.
area.
Glad this is being
It is.
broadcast.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for providing this. This is
So you have this
absolutely breathtakingly
perfect
amazing.
flat water, and then when a tiny ripple goes across it, the reflection disappears.
Because
I-
that's what a mirror reflection is. It's perfectly flat. That's why it gives a perfect reflection.
This is absolutely hilarious that you somehow think that this is like knock it out of the park evidence for a globe. Like, it really is, because it's just screams.
No,
from-
I actually knew that you would say that. This
Okay.
whole panel, I was hoping for a little bit more, and I was hoping for something from Sleeping Warrior, but in the real world, you guys have no way to quantify what you're saying or your beliefs in any way. You have no way to justify it at all.
I'm looking at it right now.
We have perfect justification.
Go ahead.
So what we're seeing right here,
Sleeping.
it's reflecting on a perfectly flat surface. That's why it's.
Well, I'm not talking
giving
about
that
the fucking
image.
reflections, dude.
Right, he did
Well,
say.
I am. It's reflecting perfectly what is there in the distance. That can only happen on a flat reflective surface.
No, you're
Yes,
just asserting
yes.
things.
No,
Go
have you
ahead,
ever
Sleeping
seen?
Warrior.
Have you ever seen like a sphere, a glass sphere with a perfectly reflecting smooth surface, and then an object you stick
Have
it
you?
on one side, put in a distance. You're not gonna see a reflection
Have
of
you?
that object on that surface
Have you?
on a sphere. Yes.
Oh, you have. So you've
Yeah.
seen a sphere as big as the Earth?
No, it doesn't have to be that big.
Oh, it doesn't have to be. Okay, go ahead, Sleeping Warrior.
It's about the curve. A curved
But you-
reflection does
Tim,
not
This one's
reflect
very
like
obvious.
that.
No, Tim, why
But
do you?
I'm already about 30 feet off the ground right here, and there's mountains in the background that will start to appear.
Yeah, I bet you that if we actually plug in the
It's
real.
being
What's
blocked.
the name of this lake?
This is the Great Salt Lake.
Okay.
It's the biggest salt lake in the United States.
Because I bet you that if we actually start plugging in the real distances and all of that, it's not going to work in your favor at all. If what you say is true, that it's like 60 miles or whatever, like.
So the thing is
You're gonna just.
you guys,
You're saying
you
we
guys
can't
and
quantify, but
myself,
if we
you
do
guys
try
and
to
myself.
quantify, if we
Okay,
do
go
try
ahead.
to quantify any of this, it's gonna just hurt.
No, you can't quantify this on a flat Earth.
Yes, we can.
No, we can. We can measure the distance. We can
Do you
predict.
see? Do you
We
see
can
this
make
right
a
here?
prediction of the obstruction, and then we can compare it.
Well, no. That's not proving a flat Earth. That's just testing the globe. So I'm talking about the flat
That's what
Earth.
I'm saying.
Okay.
The
So
logical.
look, this is over. Hold on. This is over a large expanse of water. So let's just look at the difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
You move
This is what
upwards,
happens,
and things
and you
come
see
out of the
more.
vanishing zone.
Let's not be
Oh, the
dismissive.
vanishing
Yeah, the
zone.
vanishing zone due to
Okay.
refraction bending light upwards.
Ah,
And if
due to
you move
refraction, so back
upwards,
down.
then a vanishing zone
And
becomes
then-
smaller because
Then the flat water is
moves
obstructing giant mountains in the background. Isn't that
How did-
amazing, guys?
Check. How dare you use an optical phenomenon to
Isn't that
determine the
amazing
shape
how
of the
that
Earth.
works, Isa?
I'll be back.
Isn't that? At least you're on the right
Oh,
side of the reality here, Isa.
What? It's an optical
No, no,
phenomenon.
So what side
Well,
of the lake
how-
were you on, Tim? Like, what can you
This
tell me
is
just roughly what
the-
part of the lake you were at?
Let me show you. This is the causeway.
Loving the show, by the way. Please, guys. How dare you? Please, guys.
You should
Yeah,
really.
how else are we going to be empirical about the shape of the Earth
You should
without
really,
optics?
right? If you want to be empirical, you should really be coming here with the information about your location and the distance.
Here it is right here.
Okay, so you're aware?
The causeway, I told you already, and I've done
Okay,
in these
I'm not
videos,
familiar
I
with
show the
the geography.
causeway.
No
You're
worries.
at the
So
causeway.
looking north, I guess northwest really, but as you can see, it
But
goes
you're standing on land here, right? So what you're at? You're not on the causeway, are you? Or is that like some?
I'm down at the beach area. This right here is a rock. Let me see if I can actually satellite it for you. I'll show you probably the exact rock I was standing on because there's like a little alcove people go on.
Okay.
right.
Yeah, so on this is this observation. Then I have another observation from over here that is actually looking the other way. So towards Antelope Island right here. So this is Antelope Island right here. You should be able to figure it out pretty easily. You got the mountains. This is north of Salt Lake City. So the big takeaway here, though, definitely is with the drone, like I say in my video that I did last, it does keep, with the gimbal, the camera 90 degrees to the ground. So it's actually going to show you the horizon doesn't rise to eye level. So hopefully flat earthers, and I personally don't think it would, even on a flat earth with what you guys say, because of perspective, because of how the distance you could see, it would always fall off. So I think that's a terrible argument for flat earth, first of all.
Cool. Can you show us the can you show us
what's up?
the theodolite section of this video?
Theodolite?
Yeah, you just asserted that the horizon didn't rise with to eye level. So
Oh, you could put a simple line at the very beginning. You could put a simple line.
Sorry,
Like when it's
I
right
could
here.
put a simple line, but I'm asking about you. Just I assume you've got the theodolite app and you referenced what was 0 and horizontal on a moving helicopter, right?
No, absolutely not. That's
Oh
silly.
right. Well, just don't assert that nonsense then here, Tim. Come on.
No, you can
Yeah,
see
you
the
can't really
horizon
assert
and
that kind of crap
everything
here,
go
really.
down,
Not
actually.
without a theodolite
See this
attached to
right
it.
here?
Surely you understand that, right?
See this line right here? Watch it go down. See that?
Right. And can you absolutely prove beyond doubt that you didn't move the joystick of the camera down?
I can't prove anything to
Oh
you.
wow,
Nor do I
that's
even
why a
try.
theodolite app would have been useful to if you wanted to make this assertion.
No, everybody knows that the horizon doesn't rise
Yeah,
to
we
eye
just
level.
know, don't we?
And
Yeah,
also,
you
it
can
wouldn't
just
on a
assert
flat
it because
earth
we
either.
already know,
Just
and we
letting
don't need
know.
proof like from a theodolite.
Just
You can
letting
just
you
assert
know.
it. You can just
So
assert
anyway,
it, right?
a drone is excellent.
No,
because
no,
I
you
have
can't
a
just
gimbal.
assert it. No, unfortunately not.
Oh, I don't really care. You guys can assert things. You let Arwen assert things all day on here. So I
No,
mean, this
we've
is a
pointed out something
hypocritical
visually
show where
obvious.
the
No, we're not
supposed
asserting anything.
moderator just sits there and
Sorry,
berates
all we're
people and all this
asserting,
stuff.
Tim, is that there's a reflection.
So anyway,
That's it.
Sleeping Warrior, you were
That's
gonna say
it.
something?
All we're asserting is
Thank
the
you.
reflection, something visually obvious to anybody who's looking at it. Regardless of the camera angle, there is still a reflection. So it doesn't matter which way you point the joystick. On the flat plane, you still get this reflection, right? Whereas you're saying, it's absolutely not the case that I've moved the joystick, which could cause the same effect. Take my word for it, the horizon's moving because...
Oh, I don't care.
Oh, okay. Well,
Telling you
the
how
stuff
you
I'm
could test it
asserting
yourself.
isn't
Get a
nonsense.
drone.
It's what's obviously in the imagery.
Have you guys seen Sly Sparkane? Is Sly Sparkane, right, with his little Lego man? I think you've talked about it before.
Before we move on, can we all just give Tim kudos?
Yeah, thanks, man.
No,
Yeah.
Awesome footage.
Yeah, I'm done once Riley has his ad hoc.
Ad hoc? I'd prefer
Yeah,
to
whatever
call it
you're gonna say.
response. I've had time to think about it. It's not ad hoc, and I know what I'm going to say. I just hope I can get my words out without being interrupted by a fee. First off, can you just confirm that you are using a fisheye lens?
Can I confirm I'm using a fisheye lens?
Okay, I assert that you've got X curvature on the X-axis because of a fisheye lens. Agreed?
How could you tell?
Because nobody else gets curvature on the X-axis other than you, apparently.
No, look. I mean, look at what we're looking at, bro.
So is that
this
a denial?
horizon?
Is
There's
that a
no
denial?
horizon to see, dude.
Tim, it's a yes/no question. Is it a fisheye lens or not?
It's a 20 megapixel, 60 frame per second, 4K.
Again,
and
it's a yes or a no. Is it a
It's
fisheye
not
lens?
it's not fisheye.
All right. So
I don't
That's
think
what
it's
I
a
didn't think it
rectilinear.
was.
I don't know.
Looks perfectly flat, so it's obviously not a
So-
fisheye lens.
So can somebody tell us, Tim? Could you tell us what the make and model of the drone is, so that somebody in the background can look it up?
I'm doing that for you right now.
Great.
It's not a fisheye. It's a normal rectilinear wide angle lens. So are you saying that a
Hold on,
fisheye would
did you
bring
say wide
mountains back from
They
underwater?
wide angle?
Rectilinear wide angle lens. That's what I
Right,
thought.
wide angle.
You can tell it's not a
Wide
fisheye.
angle means exactly that, wide angle. So it's distorting the image. Hold on, are you going to deny that wide angle does that?
Sorry, I kicked
It's
myself.
not a fisheye.
No, I'm not asserting it's a fisheye. I'm asserting that a wide angle lens will distort the image at the far edges.
There's ultra wide angles. There's wide angles.
Yeah,
There's all kinds
and
of
wide angle
lenses.
lenses do distort at the outside edges.
Called barrel distortion. We see it in your
So,
imagery.
let's make it clear that I never said that there's curvature on the x-axis, nor was I
No,
making
you
a
are
point
showing
about that. I don't think that you could even determine it with the mountains at the horizon. I don't even know how you would. I mean, we're not drawing a straight line and saying, hey, it's perfectly
Okay.
level or
Could
there's
you play
curve
the
or
first
whatever.
clip that you played, Tim, and let's see what your first clip was.
Tim, those mountains should
There you
be
go.
below.
Does that look flat to you guys, or does that look suspiciously curved?
I don't see your
That's
point,
how-
Anthony. He's just conceded this. I don't. Why you?
Oh right, I kicked myself out of the hangout accidentally, so I didn't catch him say it.
Well, he's just conceded it. He's not claiming to be, wanting to calculate the horizon
Right,
curvature
I'm not.
from this.
Forgive me. I'm not saying that he is claiming it. I'm asking him to confirm whether it is or is not either a fisheye or a wide-angle lens, one or the other.
Oh, sorry, he already has. It's wide angle. So yes, it does distort.
Right, I didn't hear him answer, so I obviously kicked myself. So the second point is, as you're raising and falling, Nath, if you wouldn't mind sharing my screen, hopefully it should be that one. If I...
So let's just make this clear though. A rectilinear wide angle lens, is that a fisheye to you?
It's not flat, is it?
It's not a true representation of what you would see because it distorts the edges of the image. I only know this because as a estate agent many years ago, I had to use wide-angled lenses.
Is it a rectilinear wide-angle lens?
Makes no
No,
difference. It
it's generally
distorts
considered
the
to be flat
edges.
lens.
Because there are all kinds of ultra-wides and wide-angle lenses. You know
Yeah, I
this,
know.
right?
And all of them
It
distort
has
the edges.
basically the littlest barrel distortion of any.
So you
Oh,
say, but we'd
maybe.
like to check that claim. So if you could provide us with a make and model, that would be great, because I'm sure somebody in the panel will go and look into it and see what
Makes no
the amount
difference.
of barrel distortion
A
it is.
small amount of distortion is still a distortion, right? That's it. End of this conversation.
Yeah, our eyes are distorted as well because they're
You like.
balls.
Yeah, that's true. But then we do see straight lines, though, right? We know that we see a straight line and it is straight. It doesn't appear to curve.
I could probably turn on my drone right now and have a straight line on a piece of paper and look at it, see how straight
Hang on,
it is.
let me finish my points, and then you can come back to your whatever your response you want to make. But my point is that we got a yes that it is some kind of wide or fisheye lens, and he doesn't know what.
I didn't say fisheye. He
No,
said fisheye.
Not a flat lens, though, right?
A flat lens?
No lens is flat.
All right, let's
God,
find
dude.
out let's find out what the viewing angle is.
This is I do want to make a point really quickly. I actually listened to you talk about evolution the other night with somebody that does know about evolution, and that would be Geostraber. And what's funny about that is at the very end you're like, I don't even know anything about it, basically. And then when you talk to him about chemistry, you said that sodium was salt. You literally, yeah, and then what you said yesterday about a PO, what you thought a PO was, your definition that you gave was incorrect completely. But I will say that you are a PO by your definition. That was hilarious. You literally are taking the different stances to be a contrarian. This is all you do. You don't know what you're talking about most of the time, but you continue and continue to try to dig yourself out of holes that you create for yourself. It's amazing, just like the moon casting the eclipse every month, but it does it over oceans, and then you say, "Oh no, I won because it does it in the space and all this." I mean, you're amazing, dude. You're an amazing specimen, and I love examining you. Go ahead.
What's your point, though?
Yes, sir.
What's your point, Tim?
Forget
He's
it.
a contrarian.
Let's move on. He's
a contrarian.
That he's a contrarian.
No, not a contrarian. Let's move on. My second point is the point that Nathan made, that if you were viewing the bottom of the mountain and some of it was hidden by the curvature, which over 60 miles would be prominent, the dip, or the bulge that's between you and the hidden, which represented by this dotted line, means that there is a bulge of water, which is not just blocking the hidden, but it's affecting the reflection that the top part would get. So we would see the reflection of this mountain, but what we would actually see would be the reflection of the sky up here. And I'm exaggerating it, but it would be reflecting from up here, because that's it's being obstructed by the bulge.
Where's up here? Where's up here? I can't see your mouse moving, Anthony. Sorry,
we do not see any evidence of a bulge.
Anthony, I can't see your mouse moving. I don't know what up here is. What do you mean?
Oh, sorry. If you can't see my mouse moving, right? All right, I'll have to try and do it without the mouse. But if there was a bulge between you and the target, the reflection of the mountains would be significantly different, because it would be, the horizon would be a fraction of the distance that you're observing, and the light would be bouncing off that horizon into like something in the sky, and we wouldn't see any reflection whatsoever of the base of the mountains. Nathan is absolutely correct, and there's no way around that for you. You cannot.
Is that depiction at all exaggerated?
No. If there's a bulge between you and the observer, not only does it obstruct the hidden, it affects the reflections significantly, and it would be obvious that there is a bulge there. There is no evidence.
Let me ask you one more time, just to let you answer this correctly. No. Is that depiction at all exaggerated?
I have no idea. It's not my depiction. You can make it as much, or you can alter it as much as you want. Who cares?
Obviously, it's not going to be a 60-mile span
right there
on your screen, is it?
Probably how many miles would you say on an Earth?
I don't know.
Meaningless nonsense. Hold on. Obviously, he hasn't got 60 miles on his screen, has he? It's just a graphical depiction. No. Right, what's your point then?
My point is
to
do all the time.
Tim, my point is irrelevant to the distance.
To trick people.
Tim, my point is irrelevant of the distance. It doesn't matter where you put it. I'm illustrating the point that there would be a drop, but the effect on the reflection is that you would see something else underneath the mountain. You would not see a mirror image of it because there's supposed to be a bulge in the way. Nathan's point is quite correct. You have no way around that with the bulge point. It creates an alternative reflection that you do not have any explanation for, it would appear. And my third point is the rumpus has been given the what's the word I'm looking for? A verbal description of the results that are going to come out in the Flat Earth convention in Birmingham on Friday evening. And essentially, I've told him what we've got, and I've asked him to give his explanation for it. And it was based on the back of Slice Barkane's challenge, which was go to the beach, take the same footage from the beach. And we have now the same footage from the beach.
I was saying the same thing. Very nice.
Yeah. So I've got the footage and I proved that it is like less than a foot off the floor and we see the same stuff. Now, the one piece of information I did not give him, which he wanted desperately, was what time of the day was it? Because he wants to be able to make the map. I think he wants to backwards engineer the maths to match the evidence, and I won't give him it. So I want you to know that the rumpus has been given the facts, and I've asked him for what circumstances in the weather would be necessary to create the results that we have. I wouldn't tell him the time. I don't want him to try and research what the weather was. I want him to tell me the narrow corridor of weather so that he can tell us the predictive capabilities of his model are accurate. Now, obviously, we both know what's not going to happen. He's not going to get the match at all, and there is no explanation on a ball.
I was going to say that's dishonest at first, but then I was like, right when you said that, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Because there's only a narrow window of where this is going to work for the ball, right? And because it's such an extreme case, it's from the beach. It's the same information as before, but there's an awful lot of missing curvature. So then we would need to know what the circumstances are. And on the basis that there is a predictive capability claim on your model, I think it's reasonable to ask him to predict what the weather should be.
On that note, I'm actually going to make a very quick announcement. So because we have got it coming up in the next couple of days, we have actually got the Flat Earth UK convention, which is in Drury's Lane, Birmingham. I'll just pop that information on screen for you now. So as you can probably see, just a little under 3 days till the convention starts. So get yourself a ticket. The website address is www.flatearthconventionuk.co.uk. Grab yourself a ticket. Anthony and myself will be there detailing what Anthony has captured exclusively on Friday at around 8 o'clock. So hopefully we'll see a few of you there.
So if you could respond, Tim, if you could respond with regards to the bulge and why the reflection doesn't support the bulge being there, that would be great.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to try to figure out. So you're saying it can only happen on a perfectly flat surface?
Yeah,
There's no
mirror reflection. Mirror.
There's no in between.
Absolutely, yeah, but the bulge would make.
I mean, what about a virtually flat surface? Like, I mean, so close to flat. What would you think it would do differently?
Over a distance of around about 60 miles.
That's not 60. It's not 60.
Who cares?
I need to correct. No, well, who cares?
Who cares? Over the distance
as evidence and say who cares? Come on, dude.
Who cares? Whatever the distance is, there is an exponential drop, and that drop would be reflected differently to the way you've got it presented. We can all envisage that. It's quite intuitive. We would have different parameters for what we would perceive the reflection to be, but we'd all appreciate that the reflection would only be up to the bulge and not past the bulge.
So the mountains, in this case right here, are 20 miles away ish. I'll have to do like more accurate. But the water line that's actually giving this reflection is how far away? How far would you say that's away?
Half.
4 or 5 miles maybe? No, there's a whole city over here, dude. This is crazy far distance. There's a lot of distance between this.
Cool.
So this right here, you think this is half of 20 miles right here?
Yeah.
The reflections are happening within my circle of what? Maybe 15 miles in this case.
Okay.
So I'm not first of all, I'm not a know-it-all. I actually looked at these. Hold on. Let me tell you. I looked at these reflections and I was like, what in the heck? I was trying to figure it out because as you rise up, it literally is perspective. It rises up with you. And it like shows itself.
Yeah.
Down and up. It's really weird.
completely
I
agree.
haven't really figured it out, and I'm not an expert in any kind of stuff like this.
So the question that you need to soul search, Tim, is why does there not appear to be a reflection consistent with bulge, but there does appear to be a
Hello, John. How you
reflection
doing?
consistent with flat?
Hey, I'm here. It's me.
Yo.
Yep. Sorry to interrupt. Go.
Oh, good. Quantum Eraser. This is very good.
What's
Hey,
up,
have
Timmy
you done
Clown?
any? Have you done
What's up,
any
Timmy Clown?
scientific experiments using the scientific method?
Hey,
Okay,
Timmy.
hold on.
Hey,
Keep
Timmy.
it, John.
Why don't
Hold
you
on.
give
Hold
us
on.
your-
Like, let's keep it
Have you
cordial.
used
Let's keep
any
it cordial.
scientific?
Go ahead.
Have you used any kind
Hey,
of
Nathan.
scientific method
Nathan.
towards your flat Earth belief?
Nathan.
Oh, you're not going to answer
You,
this.
Nathan.
Silly.
Yes. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, is he talking over me again?
No,
He
I
asked you a
wasn't, but now
question.
I
I
will.
didn't-
So
I
the
didn't want to
scientific
interrupt.
method.
I
The
didn't want to.
scientific method.
The scientific
Have you
method.
used?
You don't even know what it is.
Have you used
Have
the
you
scientific
used?
method for your flat Earth belief
Oh,
at all?
goodness gracious.
Did actually. He went through several flat Earth proofs on. I think it was the show was called something like Quantum Eraser School's Flat Earth QED, and he did present several proofs, and he went through them with the scientific method applied. Feel free to check it out.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that's on your channel?
Yeah.
I was actually going to have a video saying I would give a P900 for somebody to actually prove the flat Earth scientifically, as
that's
Quantum Eraser
amazing.
says.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
what. Why don't you regale us with this train wreck? Earth is an open and closed system. Why don't you explain that to us?
Yeah, that's a good one.
While
We-
you do
we
it,
left
I'll
that
just while you do that, I'll just pop John's icon up. Can you just tell me what your icon is, John?
Yeah, it's a solar. In the Bolivian Andes. It's the salt flats.
All right, that's interesting.
Hey guys, I gotta go. I'm having a hangout later on in about 30 minutes. So it was nice being on. I'll see you guys again tomorrow.
See you later, Owen. Good to have you.
Later, Arwen.
And thanks for the footage, Tim.
All right, Timmy.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Open and closed systems, and then we're gonna get to your fairy tale evolution. What is evolution, by the way? Can you define it
No,
for
let's
us?
let's go with the first question first.
All right,
and then
let's
you can
do the
look on my
first one.
screen.
Can we
Let's do
stick
the
with
first
flat Earth in this debate, not do evolution? How about that?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's not
You
do
can look on
evolution.
my screen.
Stick to flat Earth.
So the Earth is an open system for energy.
Did somebody
which I
say
think
ice cream?
we could agree.
What?
Even if
What
it's
is
your
the-
flat
Yeah,
Earth
come on,
domed
come on, John
Bible God.
and Sleeping Warrior.
What is
Just
this?
let him speak, please.
So anyway, what is what?
What is the source?
It's. I mean, can't you? I can see that you can see the actual.
Yeah, what is OERU.org? What is that? Who is that?
Look at how many other references you can find.
Wiki Google
I mean, what does
scientist.
it matter?
I'm gonna hammer you here in a second. Go ahead. I'll let you hang yourself.
There's nothing to hang. You said
Oh,
what
yes,
is
there
it?
is.
So even if it's a flat Earth and your sun is outside your little dome that God created for you,
What
it
is
would
an
be
open
open-
and closed and
it would be
isolated system?
open for energy and pretty much closed for matter. So this would
Oh,
be
really?
actually exactly how it is. on
Really?
the
No
flat Earth.
matter? In
Tim,
your
that means
theory?
it's an open system. That's like because you don't.
Oh, you guys want to define everything?
Yeah, we'll define it.
You
Do you
guys-
know what
okay.
define an open
No,
system?
no. You guys say that this is wrong, so go ahead.
It is.
Okay, go ahead.
Define an open system.
No,
You were
no,
the
go
one
ahead.
making the claim.
No, you just made a claim saying that this is wrong. So go ahead.
You made the claim that the Earth was
No,
an
you
open
made
and
the claim
enclosed
that this
system at the
is
same time.
So
What
go
is an
ahead. How
open
is this
system,
wrong?
sir? What
How
is
is
an
this wrong?
open system?
How is this wrong? You just claimed that it was. Go ahead.
You have to claim that it's right. You said it.
No,
My
you claim that it's
word.
wrong. You claim that it's wrong. So go ahead and prove that. Thank
Yes,
you. Go ahead.
you're clueless because you don't know what an open system, closed system, or an isolated
So
system
tell
is.
me.
An open system is a system that can exchange matter and energy with its surroundings. A closed system is a system that can only exchange energy with its surroundings.
And where are you
So
getting these
does the
definitions
Earth-
from?
What?
Where are you getting these definitions from?
Hyperphysics? I mean,
Okay.
this is
Hyperphysics?
tantamount. This is tantamount. Yeah, this is tantamount to asking a butcher for citations on where ribeyes come from. You're clueless.
Yeah, you're pretty clueless here, Tim. I think you should back off this one for your own good.
So
what's an isolated system?
He asked me, why is the Earth open and closed system? So I brought up, there's several sources here.
It
So
can't be an open and closed system. They're married bachelors. Oh my
You want to
God.
tell me what's wrong about this?
Like,
I
Tim,
just did.
Tim, do you understand that open and closed are mutually exclusive categories, right? It's like a thing. It's like a thing being on and off.
So you're
like
just saying that all these are wrong, right?
Yeah, your Wiki Google scientists
Yeah, 'cause
references are wrong.
You're looking at Quora, and you're looking at these rinky-dink,
So why would they need to lie to us about that?
Well, we don't divine the motives of morons.
No, they're not.
That's not in our
open
business.
air columns.
Tim, I'm saying that
Residences
they're not lying that they're wrong.
Okay, so where's your proof that they're wrong?
I just showed you.
If we look at
You
it,
just read a definition and you didn't even.
If we look at a more
cite it.
rigorous definition of these.
All right, hold on a second. Let's get something for Timmy.
Hyperphysics.
Let me share my screen, Nathan.
Cool, I'll look.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but some of these things that you're even referencing as apparently supporting your thing will say, from either closed or open. It's not saying, like, you're just looking that up, and the fact that something's
So what is difference between me and what Quantum Eraser does?
Well, because I'm getting this from the Royal Society, from the NCBI database. Let's go ahead and read this. 3 types of thermodynamic systems exist. Isolated systems are systems in which no exchange of energy and mass takes place with the surroundings. Closed systems exchange energy, but no mass with the surroundings. And 3, open systems that exchange both energy and mass. When we deal with the Earth system, a good choice for the boundary is the top of the atmosphere. There, the dominant exchange is radiative with low entropy solar radiation in terms of its photon composition, as well as its confinement to a narrow, solid angle entering the Earth system and terrestrial radiation, with some scattered solar radiation being returned to space. With this choice of boundary, the Earth is almost a closed system. Guess what almost is in hand grenades and horseshoes? The Earth is an open system. Good night.
Tim, don't trust this guy who reads scripts. He's an actor.
Well, I'm just wondering because I mean, he's gonna cherry pick things, but
that's a cherry pick, right? How is this a
because
cherry pick?
all of that does that source say the Earth is flat?
That's not my point.
Okay,
my point is open and closed systems. I didn't ask them what their favorite color was. Where our subject is open and closed systems, Timmy, Mr. Red Herring fallacy
of the shape Earth.
Incoherent red herring fallacy.
Tim, do you understand that open and closed are mutually exclusive categories that we don't need to go into all this? It's just there's a logical inconsistency to say that it's an open and closed system. It's like saying a light is on and off.
So there's many sources that say it's open and closed.
There's many sources. Right? Yeah, but you don't understand what they're saying.
Okay, go ahead, talk.
You don't understand what they're saying.
So we have conflicting sources.
Conflicting, huh? Right. You don't even know what an
hold on, John.
John,
you've got to let him get a word in.
Just let this go, man. You're
Well, he's not being allowed to speak. As much as I agree with you guys,
I'm actually being serious here.
You've got to let him speak.
Did he justify it by reading a definition out? Is that justification for you?
Yeah, it's justification. The Royal Society. Yes, it is.
Does that Royal Society say the Earth is a sphere?
That's not the question we're asking. Flat. We're talking about open systems, sir.
Well, they must
You're
not
red
be that
herring.
Credible.
Red
they
herring.
Must not be that credible. They must not be
red
that credible
herring fallacy.
If they say the Earth is a sphere.
Right? Red herring, sir. You clown.
Do you understand that opening?
No, they say the Earth is a sphere.
Open and closed systems. We're not asking them that question.
Of course you don't. Because you live in God's little sweet gray Earth, right? With a dome on it.
Do you think a door can be open and closed at the same time? It's the same.
You're asking about open and closed systems to what end, though?
Well, Timmy said the Earth was an open and closed system. Catch up. At the same time. He's a clown.
He didn't understand my question. To what end? Where are you trying to go with this in the end?
Oh, well, I can answer that. In your fantasy of a spinning ball Earth reality, you think you live in an open system that contains gas pressure. That's what it relates to. I thought that was really obvious, to be honest.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't my question. I was asking further than that.
Well, further than that, we are not making an assertion that we live in a open system.
Let's let Tim answer since he brought it up.
Yeah, he made the claim. He said the Earth is an open and closed system, which is absolutely preposterous.
Yeah, so to what end, Tim, are we talking about that it's an open and closed system? Come on. Tell us.
No, I'm actually looking up the Royal Society and what they say about the Earth.
No, but
I
why
just
did
gave it to
you don't
Computation, future for climate, and Earth
Yeah,
system models.
he's a red herring. Why don't you ask him what their favorite color is, Mr. Red Herring?
One of them says flattening the Earth.
Shocking.
Well, so you're saying your source you just used for that definition? Is that what you're saying?
You're now
you don't trust them in any other aspect of the Earth?
I didn't cite them with anything else, did I?
So you're saying that they're credible in that regard, but they're not for about everything else.
Well, you see, I can cite Einstein with the photoelectric effect because that's a valid experiment. But then I could not go with his fairy tale special relativity and general relativity because they're not experimentally validated. See what I'm saying? So we know.
Hold on. I'm interested in Tim's source.
So we know. You see these definitions here, the ones I just gave you before? You see these? This is the whole point. I really don't have to go any further than that. I don't need him to tell me that the Earth is not an open or a closed system. I don't need him to tell me that. I just need to look at the definitions of the terms open, closed, and isolated systems, Timmy.
I think you'll find that
So you
science has its own
things with just reading definitions.
Yeah, we have to define terms. It's called the Socratic method. Heard of it?
Yeah, so what do you think about evidence and proof? Are those the same words? Are those
Evidence,
synonymous?
Yes, I showed you that. Do you want me to show you again?
Evidence and proof are synonymous.
Yeah. I already showed you that. How many times do you want? So we got to move on to a different.
The way it's termed is evidence furnishes proof. So in a court case, you can have both sides presenting evidence. Both can't be correct, even though they're providing contrary evidence to each other. But evidence furnishes proof. Just depends on the quality of the evidence, doesn't it? There's a stack of evidence for the globe, in quotes. Lots and lots of evidence. Unfortunately, when you have a little look at the evidence, it turns out to be garbage.
So this is from the Royal Society.
Who cares?
The equator, then under more northerly latitudes, that is, that the Earth is not
doing. What are you
Earth is
doing?
not quite
You
a
don't
sphere,
understand there's a
but is a
logical
prolate ellipsoid.
It's a
Hold
red
on.
herring.
Hold on.
What does it
Nummy
say
and John,
about
hold
open and
on.
closed systems, Timmy?
John,
Our
Nummy,
subject.
What does it say about
hold
the
on.
shape
I
of
know
the
he's
Earth?
trying to change the subject, but there might be a
That's not
reason.
changing
So
the
you can
subject.
at
Now
least.
you're squirming.
I know he's squirming, but you've got to let him actually squirm rather than just talk
you guys are
over
like
him
a little
constantly.
bully team, like a gang of clowns.
It's a red herring fallacy. We're talking about open and closed systems.
Tim, I'm very fair to you.
Determining credibility for what you just said was from the Royal
We're
Society.
not talking.
The Royal Society is talking
Society.
about the Earth being a
My
prolate
God.
ellipsoid.
Nathan,
What is that?
this is a
That
red
means nothing to
herring
you?
fallacy. Open
No,
and
it's
closed
not.
systems. Yeah, it is. You a clown.
Well, I'm just
The definition
your
of a red herring
source.
fallacy.
I'm just using
It's
your
the
source
definition.
to find
It's the
what
book
shape the Earth is.
definition of
The
red
magnetic
herring
field
fallacy.
within the Earth by the Royal Society. Let's read about that and how they say the
Go
Earth.
ahead. I'll tell
right?
you what. Go ahead and
Let's read about how the Earth is flat.
fairy
Oh,
tale.
self-decided
Edgar Allan
minimum.
Poe.
Tim is practicing.
This is
sophistry.
awesome.
He's
Oh,
practicing.
this is sophistry. This is cute.
Sophistry. It's retarded.
Yeah, it's
retarded sophistry.
Well, let's try and get him back on track. Tim, have you got any evidence that the Earth is both an open and closed system?
So his evidence is that he read from the Royal Society, the same people that say the Earth
The
is a
evidence
sphere.
is that
Just
open
wondering.
and closed are opposite.
Just wondering. So he questioned the credibility of my sources, right? So I question the credibility.
You didn't even know what the source was.
He doesn't believe the Earth is a sphere, but his sources do. Do you guys understand how that is relevant to the
But
topic?
Tim, maybe the Earth is both flat and round.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's really that obvious. Come on. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's as obvious as open and
You know what? You're
closed,
smarter
right?
than this, Tim. You're really smarter than this. Just let it go. Jeez.
You just keep saying that. You said that about the video. You keep saying that. Like it's gonna change my
Because you're
mind that
you're
this
not giving
guy
you're-
that said
this
CGI
is
Ospreys
yeah,
on
CGI.
Soundly's videos
That's
is
true.
gonna change anything about me at all. Like you're a joke, dude. You're an absolute joke. You were right about natural science. You were right about that. That's the
No,
only
he's
thing
no, he's not.
Yeah.
That's right. Timmy brings up a definition from the
Oh, like you do.
evolutionary savior, Berkeley.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Berkeley.
I'll tell you what. Is my screen still sharing?
This is hilarious.
No, pop
Let's
you
talk
on.
about this, Tim. Are we
Sure.
good, Nathan?
I don't
What
mind.
does the
us. We've only
natural
got a few.
world
We've
mean
got
in
maybe
science?
15
This is
minutes
what we
left. If
talked
you want
about
to chew it
earlier.
out with the evolution, fine.
More red
No,
hair.
no, I'm not bringing up evolution. Is my
More
screen still
scripts.
sharing?
More scripts.
Yes, you are. Yes.
Okay, let's take a look at this. This is from Kennesaw State, right? A
AP.
law describes what nature does, whereas a theory explains how nature works. Now, Timmy, are they talking about toaster oven laws? Excuse me. Excuse me.
What does this have to do with anything?
Right? Right?
He's just a clown, dude.
Tell
From
us-
the natural world.
Yeah. Toaster oven laws and lawnmower theories, Tim. What are we talking about here?
Yeah. I'm
So
not gonna
the
get sucked
Earth-
into your bullshit.
The Earth is an open system for energy and a closed system for matter.
Oh, God, another rocket scientist.
What's wrong with
Why
that?
don't you go back and play poker? We already
what's wrong with
discussed
that?
this.
What's wrong with
No,
that?
what's wrong with that? That's what I said.
Because
Discuss this? Oh, I don't know. I
Yeah,
came
we
in
can-
late.
yeah, you came in late.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, the
So
Royal
let's
Society
stick with
has
this.
NASA
Let's stick.
stuff,
Hey,
too.
let's stick with this, folks.
FYI.
So,
This
Timmy,
is interesting.
in this definition right here, they give a definition of a law.
You just
and a
read
theory.
definitions? Is that all
Yeah,
you do?
well, it's the Socratic method. We have to define our terms so we understand what we're talking about.
Did he
So,
defeat reality with a semantic argument?
Are
Tim?
they
Is that
talking
what happened?
about toaster
Yeah.
oven laws
I'm just
and
guessing.
lawnmower
I've seen
theories?
this guy
Hey,
before.
Nathan.
He doesn't.
Nathan,
He's
Can you put
semantically
these guys
like.
on mute or
Come on,
Talking a
something
bunch of
Pete,
crap.
and
come
have
on,
him
you'll get
answer
a
the
turn.
question?
What is it? I like his thing about how like you
Go
can't
back and play
test a
poker.
you can't test a vacuum because it doesn't exist in nature.
Go
But
play a
there's
poker.
vacuum in nature. It's called.
Oh,
space.
where is it? Oh,
It's called
space.
space. Yeah.
Really? Well,
space.
show
There's
us.
space, dude.
Show us.
Yeah.
Show you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Let's
know.
see your
I'll
pictures
show
of
you the
space,
inside
Pete.
of my asshole. How about that?
That's all right, Pete. I'll stick you on screen.
It's like,
I'll stick
hey,
you on
we're
screen.
already seeing it. You're on screen.
Let's see your pictures of space.
I'll show you the inside of my asshole. I'm not
Yeah, there it is, right there. We see it.
Yeah, that's as good as you got. Because you haven't got any pictures of space, have you, Pete?
There he is.
Well, what kind of a question is like, show me space? Like that's.
Well, you
that's
claimed it.
nonsense.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
claimed it.
Well, no, that's a good
You claim the
question.
Earth
What
is
kind of question is it? And the answer is a dumb question, because the only version of space we get is on TV. We don't get to see space, Pete.
How can I create an experiment to falsify the air resistance without removing air from a chamber?
Are you drunk?
We're
No.
trying to study natural phenomenon, so if you can
I-
show me where
You
there is
gotta,
an
you gotta
instance of
remove
that.
variables when you do experiments to decide what variable is
What's an
causing the
independent?
thing, right?
Okay, what's an
So how do I
independent
remove
variable?
air
Oh my
resistance
God.
from an experiment without creating
So what's
a
an
chamber
independent
without
variable?
air in it, dude?
So what's an independent variable?
What's the independent variable?
This
How do
guy-
I
What?
remove the variable?
What
Is
about
air
PPP?
resistance a variable?
What
seriously.
is an independent variable?
Don't answer his questions, dude. He does the same.
What is
stuff.
a what is a semantical argument?
So what is an independent
What
variable?
is a
Yeah.
semantical argument?
Semantics, yes. Words, they mean
Tell
things.
us. Educate us on what semantics, semantical
So
arguments.
words, they mean things.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
What's a semantical argument? Do you know?
That's-
Can you define
I
that?
know what the semantical argument is.
Define a semantical argument.
What-
I want to know. I want
This
to know.
guy was
dude.
very childish, but at least he
clown.
can read definitions from where he cherry picks from.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, the Royal Society. I was also reading.
Oh,
about how
really?
They
Well,
use
no, we
ultra
didn't-
high resolution
we're
NASA
on-
computer model.
we're on a different
to
subject.
show how carbon dioxide in the atmosphere travels around the
That's-
globe.
wow.
Wow. That's your
That's
source.
amazing, Timmy.
That was your source to prove me wrong.
You're amazing,
They're using
Timmy.
NASA.
Oh,
They're
really?
using NASA tools, man.
Yeah, I use NASA to defeat NASA. Amazing, right?
Well,
Like
I'm
you
not
use their own
contradicting
stories against them.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So are they talking about, in my definition,
climate change is real?
Lawnmower laws?
People are causing the
toaster oven
climate to
theories?
change at rates never seen before.
Timmy, answer the question.
This is your source. Sorry, this is your source. I was
This
just,
is your
they're
source. Yeah,
climate
but it
change.
wasn't the
They're pushing
citation.
climate change.
You don't know what citation and reference, how they differ.
This is good stuff.
You're
At least they know the Earth is a
clown.
sphere. Your source.
You're
Good
a
source,
clown,
man. Thank you.
sir.
I'm learning a lot from your source.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Actually,
You
I
couldn't
don't know.
learn how to get
I
a
don't know
nut
that
from
either,
a
John.
chipmunk.
Sorry,
Now,
John.
our
I don't know
laws,
the difference either.
scientific laws.
Sorry, John. What's the difference between
Go ahead.
citations and references?
Second.
Oh, this is
What's the difference
hilarious.
between a citation and a reference? Because you're defeating his
the-
argument with that, and I don't understand what you mean.
Okay, the citation is what you want to pull out of the reference. It's when you're like in a research paper, you can't post in your works cited or bibliography, you can't post the whole reference. I mean, you can't fit it all in there. So citations are just pieces from that reference, right? And then you cite that. The citation is
We only pay Paul money.
who's doing that?
So you're citing from a credible source talking about climate change and NASA? Is that what you're trying to
I'm
say?
not talking about climate change. That's a red herring fallacy by definition.
Is it? No, I'm talking about the
Because we're talking about
legitimacy of
open
the
and
Royal
closed
Society.
Open
You
and
debunked me with the
closed
Royal
systems.
Society, and they talk about all kinds of stuff.
We're
Isn't that
talking about
interesting?
open and closed systems, right?
Yeah, and they're talking about the Earth being a
Right.
sphere. What do you have to
Hold
say
on,
about that?
let's
Wait a
just get
second,
this
Nathan.
cleared
Do you
up
understand
because I
the
don't want to go
definition?
around in circles. We haven't got enough time. Hold on a second. So,
Learning a lot.
hold on. Just I want to summarize this for the audience as much as anything else. So, Tim is saying that because your citation comes from the Royal Society, and the Royal Society says the Earth is a sphere, that makes your citation no longer credible. And you're saying it's a
didn't
red
say that.
herring fallacy.
Yeah.
So, what do you mean by that?
A red herring fallacy is a diversion. It goes off onto another topic that's not a part of the original topic. It's just a red herring. It's a textbook red herring fallacy.
Topic is your credibility.
Open and closed systems
Oh,
is
no,
the
no,
topic.
no, no. I
You're-
agree
I
with
told
Tim.
you you were
Sorry,
cherry-picking to start
John.
with.
Just to
No, but
play
your
devil.
argument
Sorry,
was
John.
cherry-picking.
I've got to do this. I can't just let it slide. So he's saying
Okay.
the source itself, the people who have created your source, say something contrary to your entire argument. So why is that not? He's saying it's a question of credibility. Why is that not valid?
Why is
Be
the
of
Royal
competition.
Yeah. It's not only a red herring fallacy, it's definitely that also.
Why is it not
The
valid?
reason is
That's
the
what you're
Royal
asking.
this is the Royal Society. It's one of the most prestigious organizations on or in the entire world. These are common definitions right here for open and closed systems. They haven't cornered the market on them. Any junior high intro to physics student knows what these are.
Well, I appreciate
You
that. But the
use them
citation
as
you're
credibility to your argument.
right.
You
If
know-
we are
you
if you're saying
agree?
they are the best in the world, and we are to trust them because they're the best in the world, but they are saying something completely contrary in a different reference, why would that be
Yeah.
anything other than a questionable, credible source?
Yeah, it's irrelevant. They could be wrong about everything else. But
Thanks, Mike.
in their
Just that-
definition of open and closed systems, they're correct.
So you
Unless
cherry-pick. That
unless
was
he
the whole
can
point.
refute these definitions. It's not cherry picking, you clown. Refute
No,
the
that's
definition.
important. Okay, I get it. So in this instance, so long as they are correct in this instance, their citation is sound, and therefore, unless you can literally debunk the entire definition in its entirety, Tim, and find a different reference for open and closed systems that is completely completely credible in every respect, then I don't see your issue now. So how do you debunk this open and closed definition?
So I originally brought up something that said, and there's many different citations all over the web, and it's kind of like anything where you look up, is sugar good for you, or sugar is good for you in Google. Sugar is bad for you. I'm totally here to be stand corrected. That's not a problem for me. I would like to get down to the truth of the issue. Truthfully, I've
Sure.
seen it said both
Well,
ways.
well, here's the difference.
Hold on, John. Hold
Here's the difference.
on. Just 1 second. So, in your
I've
first
seen it-
definition, I believe it was in the open system definition, it said quite specifically what the cause was of that open system. Can you remember what the cause in that definition was?
Mine wasn't definition. Mine was just
You had it
saying
up
that
on
it was
screen.
open
You had it up on
terms
screen. It
of-
said open and closed on the same page. Do you remember?
Yes, it was saying open as in terms of the electromagnetic, and it was closed in terms of matter. That's what it
Right.
was saying.
And can you remember what the cause was?
Let me bring it up real quick.
While you do that, I'll tell you. The cause was gravity.
Yeah, gravity does exist.
No. Gravity is an effect, not a cause.
Yeah, see, because of gravity, you're right. Matter comprising of solids, liquids, and gases does not.
Did you hear what I just said to you, Tim?
Mm-hmm. Well, in my worldview, I don't have a reason to disbelieve gravity.
Sorry, so we're basing this on a belief?
Yeah.
Are we? Oh, well, that's
Yeah,
a bit of a
it's a
problem.
justified true
That's
belief.
a bit of a problem, Tim. That's a bit of a problem. See, we're pointing out that you guys live in fantasy land and have beliefs. So telling us that you're basing it on a belief is, well, it's a bit crummy.
When a flat earther tells me something like that, I think that my belief is much more justified than yours.
I couldn't give a flying monkeys about your belief in anything. You're entitled to your belief. Keep it in your dreams. Keep it in your own home, but don't assert to me that we live on a spinning ball based on your bloody belief.
I never did. Actually, it could be geocentric, truthfully.
Yeah, it could be. You
But
can believe whatever you
things
like.
like the two
Hallelujah, I'm a
celestial
believer.
points-
We're not interested in your belief.
The
We're
celestial
interested in
points.
science. That's what we're
Now-
interested in.
That
All the stars
scientific
going
evidence
down
is
to the north and
celestial
the south.
points. Let's go. Go
Well, I
ahead.
was gonna keep going.
I'm
Yeah,
going to write
the
it down.
angular
Is
size
my
of the
screen
sun-
still sharing?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
The angular size of the sun doesn't change throughout the day. And
What does
compared to the
angular
flat Earth
size
prediction-
mean? A
Oh, so
prediction.
you're just going to stop me at every word. Is that what
Okay,
you're gonna
let's. So the phenomena observed is what? Now we're going to write these down for everyone. So what's the phenomena?
do? I am glad I have tabs still up.
Celestial points. Okay, we got that. Is that correct?
All right, natural studies. When
So-
scientists do...
Go on, Tim. The amount of times you've wanted to bring us on to this topic as your proof,
that
Tim.
might affect
We're now using this as your proof.
They
We're
are
breaking it down for you, mate. The amount of times I've heard you say it's damn good evidence when used in conjunction with the latitude system. So
Yeah,
you've got all these
absolutely is.
presuppositions about what these lights in the sky do.
No.
Now we're breaking
No
it down for you using this thing that
observation.
actually defines the natural world. It's called
Just an
science,
observation.
buddy. So we've got your observed natural phenomenon as two celestial points.
So I
Right
was
or
just
wrong,
reading
mate?
something.
Right or
Let
wrong?
me read something real quick.
Well, hold
When
on real
natural
quick.
study-
To back it up a little bit, though, the idea that
Hold on. When scientists do studies in nature, they usually
Oh, we
cannot
don't care
control
about that.
factors. Hold on. Cannot control
No,
factors.
no,
that
we're
might
waiting
affect-
for your
Hold
alternative
on.
hypothesis. Let's
Cannot
go.
control factors
Justified
that might
belief.
affect
We don't
the
need a
variables.
Brenda
Go
demonstration of what the
That'd be
scientific
excellent.
method is,
Yeah,
Tim.
we're
We
waiting
don't
for the
need this.
alternative hypothesis,
This
please.
is very important to have.
No, we
fun
don't need to
later
hear
on
that. Just your
and read
alternative
this.
hypothesis.
Yeah, you don't want me to read
We're
this,
ready
do you?
for it.
Yeah,
I'm
we
ready
want your
for it.
alternative
When
hypothesis.
scientists
We've
do
established on
studies
many
in
nature-
shows, Tim, what the scientific method is. We've had Brenda come in and try and fudge it and change it. We've had various different other physicists come in and try and redefine what science is,
This is
but
what
it doesn't
high
change.
schoolers learn, guys. This
Let's
is
go.
what high schoolers learn. So let's
Let's go.
learn what high
Alternative
schoolers learn.
hypothesis, please.
So anyway, when
Yes,
scientists
no,
do
no,
studies
no, no,
in
no, no, no,
nature-
no, no. Nope.
Well,
Red
yeah,
herring
Tim,
fallacy.
Tim, real
That's not a
quick.
red herring
Red
Tim, look
herring
at this.
at all.
Tim, the
Yeah, it
phenomena
is.
is
Textbook.
the phenomena is that we observe the stars moving across the sky, which leads us to believe there may be some rotation. That rotation is what makes up the concept of what we believe to be is gravitation, which then gives us the what we refer to as gravity. So the idea is that due to this observation, the phenomena of the stars moving across the sky, scientists have deduced that there is this that is what is allowed to create this most interesting open and closed system phenomena. With that, I just want to say that all I want to say is this, though, is that the phenomena is the movement of the stars, which leads us to gravitation. Which
Okay, we already got that.
Right, but
So let me get this in very, very clear so that
No, we
quantum,
need the
quantum,
alternative hypothesis, please.
quantum, no, so that quantum, you can
Yeah,
come
yeah,
back
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. You said you had a justified belief. You said the phenomena observed was
say
two
this is
celestial
wrong.
points.
Are you
Number
going to give me a
two
chance
is alternative hypothesis.
Are you going
Go.
to give me a chance or no?
Yes, go. Alternative hypothesis.
I'm not going to answer your questions at your whim. Okay, so listen.
All
That's
to
what
right,
this.
science
Nathan.
is,
So
Tim.
listen
That's
to
what
this
we're
and
here
tell me where
for.
this is wrong.
That's what
Let
we're
me
here for. We're here observing the natural world.
let me just say this really quickly. This
You're
is
obfuscating. Red
high
herring.
school. No, I'm not. You haven't even listened to what I said.
Yes.
This is high school.
Justified claim.
Okay.
Your
When scientists
justified
do
claim.
studies,
We don't want to hear about it.
they
We
usually
want it.
cannot
Your
control
alternative
factors that
hypothesis.
might. See, you do not want me to say this, do you?
I want you to support.
This is showing your whole hole in your argument. When
Hey, somebody's
scientists do
muting me,
studies
Nathan.
in nature, when
The
scientists
Allen
do study in
clown.
nature, hey, I'm about to fucking kick you, dude.
Allen
Shut your
clown.
mouth, man.
Hey, bring it. Bring it on, clown.
God, this
I
guy
can't
is really
wait.
sad.
Bring it on, friggin' fairy tale keyboard warrior.
Alrighty, so when scientists do studies in nature, they usually cannot control factors that might affect the variables they are investigating. This is a drug.
So it just turns into a snipe fest because Tim couldn't
Yeah.
provide anything in
What
the
happened was
scientific method.
Alan muted John, and then Tim kicked John, so I then kicked Tim. If we're going to start kicking and muting people, it just ruins it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I booted
That
Alan
wasn't
for
a very
muting.
productive exchange, though, admittedly.
Well, the
He'd been
bottom
in
line
long
is
enough to
you
be
can't
fair.
formulate a scientific hypothesis from an observation of the two celestial points in the sky.
Yeah. But Tim wasn't willing to play, and I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying that conversation had clearly gone off the rails there. So I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah, the answer is actually
Oh,
point
look
out
who
that
we've got. We've got Lewis, the genie.
It's probably Tim going to snipe me.
I'm just here to let everyone know this is my personal opinion. There is no productive exchange possible with you, and you're here solely to have people answer questions at your whim. You're not open to their ideas. You're not open to anything other than what you have already decided.
no, what we've asked people to do, Lewis, is present an adherence to the scientific method. Science being a study of the natural world. Science, in quotes, being the thing that you claim is behind the assertion that we live on a spinning ball Earth. So, we have applied the yardstick that you guys say apply and said please provide us with scientific evidence of your spinning ball fantasy religion. And unfortunately, nobody's willing to actually provide any. Instead, as you can see, I get muted. People get booted. That's what happens when we highlight that you have a fantasy religion that doesn't actually have any evidence to support it. That's what happens. You get annoyed when we try and take you through the steps of the scientific method. You mute the person asking you to actually demonstrate and illustrate that we live on a sphere. It's sad, but it's true. That's what we have when we point out that the Earth is obviously and observably flat. We get obfuscation. We get this demonstrated. And this being something that I wanted to demonstrate for a long time on the debates. And it's only thanks to Anthony Riley that I actually was sort of coaxed into not letting you guys obfuscate, actually holding your toes to the fire. So that's what we're doing, holding your toes to the fire, asking you to demonstrate using the methodology that demonstrates the world in its natural state, that would be science, that the Earth's a sphere. Nobody's managing it. Nobody's managing it. We're not demanding anything. You don't have to go out and do anything, Lewis. Not a damn thing. You just have to cite anything from, quote, science that proves you live on a spinning ball. And there's nothing, it seems, to actually prove it. So we'll keep asking. And if you've got anything to put on the table, you feel free, my friend. And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. So from me, Eleanor, and slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena, I say thanks for watching and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!